All right, it's it's been a long time, but let's see if we can try to make up for lost time, at least in some way. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News, the unreliable ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the newsroom, and welcome to the Galtopia News Network, your unreliable source for DSP News. This is the Snort Report, or pseudo Snort Report, brought to you by SnortBucks Coffee Company, the best beverage company. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, how you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing well. I haven't seen you guys in a very long time. It's been like two and a half months, something like that. That's a really long time. I'm not sure if that's my longest hiatus from the channel or not, but it's a good amount of time. But in any case, time time away, makes the heart, crave those more, and so on and so forth. So that's a thing. In any case, I have a lot to do as normal and whatnot, so it's a pretty good thing that the tagline is always late, never breaking, because there's a lot to go over. And yeah, so I guess we'll start off with one of the few people who have come out the gates as of recent and really have hit the ground running. MrHuth stuff. Actually, I've got a couple of videos that we're going to go over, but we're just going to do one for this particular broadcast. But MrHuth stuff's been on a roll lately. So has SnortBucks, obviously. SnortBucks' work ethic is amazing. Mighty D has been periodically putting some stuff out that's been really good. And VoltBoy has really come up into the mix and really put out some really great stuff. And I've been actually going through VoltBoy's catalog. He has some gems, so I'm looking forward to going over some of those in the near future. So look forward to that. So all those individuals will be featured back on the channel at some time, at some point in the near future. In any case, you guys are not here for what some of the future plans are, at least not just yet, because that's what the board meeting's for, which had to get pushed back yet again. Probably won't be a quarterly meeting this year. Maybe, we'll see. If not, it'll just be like an end of the year thing. At the end of the year leading into next year, we'll see. We'll see how we play that out. Maybe we'll just start 2021 fresh, because 2020 has been a very complicated year, as I'm sure all of you guys know. In any case, you guys aren't here for that. You guys are here for the funnies. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with MrHuth stuff, DSPGaming, waifus, tips, and college classes. This is from October 29th of 2020, our current year of gout. The link to the video will be down in the description. You guys know how the situation plays out now, ladies and gentlemen. This is Chewing the Fat with GTG, also known as Welcome to my TED Talk. This Phil's insecurities and somewhat, I wouldn't say it's an attack, but his angry snorts, if you will, towards waifus and waifu culture in some way is a bit unfounded from someone who used to have, not anime, but used to have comic busts of female characters in his bedroom that he more than likely jerked off to. And especially at a time when he actually had a girlfriend who was like 11 years his junior, in his life at that time too. So you got to understand that even though it's, it's all fictional and it's not that big of a deal, do you think Panda took any insecurities towards that? She may have not. Did he think about that if that was a particular case? I'll let you guys go ahead and come up to that conclusion. It's also funny where, as it pertains to abandonment issues, because that's what Phil has, that he's very quick to discard stuff in his past when he feels like he's in a better position in his current timeline or in his current position. And you doing bigger and better things for yourself is one thing, and you should be proud of that, and you should be able to bask in the glory, or for Phil, bask in his own bacon grease about those situations. But you shouldn't forget where you came from. You know what I mean? Where you were at and what led you to this. If, let's go ahead and play devil's advocate for a minute and say that Phil really does have the loving, fulfilling relationship that he allegedly says he has with Kat, then shouldn't he be thankful that he kind of went through the trials and errors with Panda, right? To make him a better man, in air quotes, for the woman that he's with now. No, he kind of just disregards all that. Even though, in actuality, just from hearing Phil talk, you can tell he's the same scumbag with Kat that he is with Panda. Matter of fact, he might even be worse. But semantics. Tips Phil can't really teach you anything directly. He can teach you a lot indirectly. To be honest with you, if nothing else, that's one of the reasons why he's probably one of the most, if he's not the most, watched lolcow of lolcows, is the fact that you can legit learn from this idiot's mistakes because he makes so many of them and he does it so frequently. That's pretty much all he can offer you. He can't really offer you too much else of anything when it pertains to wisdom, because more often than not, it's not something that he's actually experienced or even knows what he's talking about. It's something that he's grabbed from somebody else and he tries to pass it on as his own. When it comes to his own mistakes, ladies and gentlemen, he can't even really tell you how he messed up unless a detractor, troll, hater, or critic pointed it out in advance, and he's just basically parroting what they're saying. He can't even learn from his own mistakes from a day-to-day basis. So what good is he? And what good is any knowledge or information he may or may not have? And he's been reduced now, ladies and gentlemen, to, if I like to, let's go ahead and call it what it is. His bacon grease has been burnt off to just char at this point, because anything that he had of value is already gone. He's already abandoned it. And the only people who defend him are, let's be honest, wheelchair symbols and tards. That's it. That's really what it comes down to. Those are the only people who still see value in what he does, and in turn, they continue to help him out. You know, or man children or man babies or whatever, for whatever that's worth. You know what I mean? It's really crazy that people want to call, like to go ahead and do this thing, like thinking, oh wow, you detractors are losers. Have you actually seen Phil's fan base? Have you actually seen some of the members in Phil's fan base? That shit is kind of scary. And here's the irony of all that. When Phil calls detractors losers, and they're all live in their mother's basements, and they don't have lives, and they don't have fulfilling lives themselves, and so on and so forth, his fan base directly mirrors that. And that can be proven without a shadow of a doubt. Like, there's evidence on Encyclopedia Dramatica, Kiwi Farms, and lolcow Wiki that kind of prove all that. Directly, by name. It's not a good look. That's all I'm saying. So he can't really teach you much of anything. And then college courses, I feel, to be honest, Phil looked at college as soon as he graduated, that it would give him some type of prestige. And it doesn't. At the end of the day, you have to be able to do the work. You have to be able to exceed expectations to succeed. Instead of you being given this piece of paper that says that, okay, he's able to retain whatever knowledge you teach him, he automatically deserves a job making six figures. That's kind of how I think he looks at college. And if that's the case, you're looking at it wrong. To be honest, if nothing else, he looks at college in a lot of the ways, or he has his expectations of college mirrors, or in actuality should be is more associated with someone who should have gone to a trade school than college. You know what I mean? Now, there's always a debate whether, okay, if you go to college, you're going to be a little bit more well-rounded, and some of the classes are but they can be useful to you later, whereas you go to a trade school and you can learn something directly in a field. But then once you get into that field, you're going to want to expand off into other stuff. We'll talk about that later. For Phil, I don't think him going to trade school wouldn't even be a good idea, because there is so much that he needs to take in a very short amount of time, and then things that he's going to be expected to keep up with moving forward, that I don't think he'd be capable of doing it. Look at his business degree at Current. It's garbage. It's worthless. It's useless. His ACE certification is useless. It's outdated. And the reason why is because those fields continue to expand. He didn't. You want one more example, and then we can get into this broadcast? I could help you with that. Look at the gaming atmosphere, the gaming culture, gaming society. Look at streaming and content creating, right? All three of those of these particular spheres of entertainment and business have grown each and every year. Phil Burnell hasn't. Phil is still stuck, theoretically, back in 2009, 2010, I'll give him as far as maybe 2012 or 2013. People have evolved leaps and bounds over what Darksydephil is. Darksydephil gives you a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's all poorly done. And I can say that because what I do is poorly done. But when you look at other people, they have specialized in one or two of those particular fields, whether it's gaming news, whether inside gaming news, whether just day-to-day coverage on what's going on in the gaming community, or and so on and so forth. Just you can break it all up. Gaming reviews, in-depth gaming reviews, talking to developers and talking to publishers, so on and so forth. Getting marketing strategies, sitting in marketing meetings or whatnot. Gaming itself has expanded in such a way that Darksydephil could have never seen. Would he have been able to keep up with all of that? No, but he could have made himself a name in a few of those particular branches of this gaming tree. And he didn't, because he was lazy then and he's lazy now. Now he's so goddamn out of touch that he has to get everything second or third hand, more than likely off Twitter. And the information and the news in the day and age we live in changes hour by hour. So more often than not, when he gives you, not all the time, but more often than not, when he gives you any type of gaming news or whatnot, the shit's already outdated. You've already heard it. Or there has already been a retraction of some type of information, and it's been recorrected, and Phil don't even know it yet. You know what I mean? Or Phil's just completely out of the loop because the information he was given was 2 or 3 days ago. That's why when you see the pre-stream, he tries to make a segment where he talks about current gaming news, but he's outdated. Why do you think fucking Rich from Review Tech USA has to put out as many videos as he does a day? You know what I mean? Or, well, Young Yeah is so much better than Rich, but you know what I mean? But look at Young Yeah. He puts out a couple of videos a day because the news is constantly changing. It's constantly coming out. And you got to stay on top of it. If you're not up to date, then you've already fallen behind. And it's very, very hard to catch up. I, of all people, can understand that. So, yet again, it's when it comes to college, when it comes to trade school, when it just comes to education in general, he's just too lazy. He's just too lazy. You know what I'm saying? He's stupid to some degree, but he's definitely lazy. You know what I mean? And he's never gonna want. And you got to understand, like your education in a lot of ways is like you maintaining your car or your home. It's a commitment. It's a lifelong commitment. You should always be striving to learn something. I mean, granted, you should be learning something new every day, but you should be always striving to further your education in some way, shape, or form. And it's never too late, ladies and gentlemen, to ever go back to school and learn something else. You are never too old, right, to improve in some way, shape, or form. You should never I see that a lot. You should never let your age deter you from doing anything. You know what I mean? And that right there comes from this silly ass thing that Phil said recently about he doesn't know how to ride a bike. I already knew that because he said that years ago. But his reasoning for not wanting to learn how to ride that bike is already just off the fucking mark. But in actuality, and I have my doubts if the story he even gave out was true. But more importantly than that, you're never too old to learn. You can always learn how to ride a bike. There are people who are like in their 40s and 50s who learn how to swim for the first time. You know what I mean? There's shit, you're finding more and more in this day and age that people aren't learning how to drive until they get into their 40s or 50s and shit. For whatever reason. You know, so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? You're never too late to learn something. It's never too late to improve yourself in some way, shape, or form. But for Darksydephil, he would rather just sit on his ass and lament about it. Yet he can't even improve at the thing that he does for a living. The one thing that he says that he felt like at one time in his life he was good at, and he's made more money than he's ever could make, why did he never see the need to try to improve what he did? Unless he could get other people to do the footwork or pay the money so he could have the equipment to make it seem like he actually made improvements, but he didn't. It's not just money that is the foundation of you making improvements. It's something mental. It's something physical that you have to do as well. It's not just raising the capital to spend on shiny new stuff. You got to actually learn how to use it properly. And then you have to be creative and learn how to use it to its fullest potential, or for as much potential as you can pull out of it. That right there is investment. That right there requires investment in yourself. I don't even know if he knows what that means. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. And let's go ahead and get into the situation at hand. Like I said, I hope you guys are doing well. and let's try to make the best out of a very, very, very late situation, shall we? Shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Snort Report, and this is DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. Oh yes, a GTG, Network and Productions. You guys all know the slogan. I don't smell no bacon cooking. But we're going to get on that right now. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's time. It's time to watch me work. That wasn't too bad. I was kind of scared. I was going to be kind of shaky at that, but because I haven't done it in such a long time. That wasn't too bad. No, not too bad at all. Yay.
Let's see here. Tony Huge, the 200-bit cheers. It says, trolls are out in full force hitting you from every angle. We're going to try and have a nice chill stream. Yeah, we are going to have a nice chill stream. Don't worry about it, man. I'm not going to let that shit get to me. People are...
All right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to actually bring this back to the beginning, and then we'll start from scratch. But ladies and gentlemen, we are here... Excuse me. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with MrHuth stuff, DSPGaming, waifus, tips, and college courses, or college classes, sorry. This is from October 29th of 2020, our current year of gout. The link to the video, as well as some other links to some other detractor channels, as well as some other semi-useful information, I guess, depending on what you feel like, will be in the description, as well as that of the songs that I use in all of our broadcasts. And big ups to the individual who made their request. I do not have your name in front of me, but you will see it at least in the beginning of our broadcast, or in the beginning of the video, because that's how we do. And thank you so very much. All right, guys, let me go ahead and bring this back, and let's go ahead and get started.
Let's see here. Dr. Tony Huge, the 200-bit cheers. It says, trolls are out in full force hitting you from every angle. We're going to try and have a nice chill stream. Yeah, we are going to have a nice chill stream. Don't worry about it, man. I'm not going to let that shit get to me. People are just dumb. I'm just going to ban these idiots. Motherfucker struck me. Theo Hart and Gold. No, excuse me. Theo Hart and Mind Cheer. You say, honest question. If tips were to slow down significantly or drive completely, would you be able to survive financially with the money you make for Twitch and subs, ad revenue, cheers, Patreon? There's no way to tell. Every month it's different. I have no idea. You're asking me, like, if your income significantly drops... Alright, let me answer this. If my income significantly drops out of nowhere, what would happen? I'd be screwed. I have no credit to fall back on, okay? Because I just declared bankruptcy this year. And, you know, right now, what I'm enjoying is the fact that people really like my streams this year. Things are much more positive than they've been in a long-ass time, and people have been very supportive. And because of that, I've had freedom to not worry too much about, oh no, if I run out of money or whatever. Alright? As long as you guys keep supporting the streams... Right? I could cover all the new games coming out in the next month, the new console, etc. And like I've told you guys, I have many stream improvements that I'd like to do, that I hope I can do, you know? It all depends on how things go. Yeah, if I have a dip in income, I can't do that stuff. Duh. What do you, like, it's a common sense question, and it seems like you want some kind of a crazy answer. But what you're really trying to do, Theo, Heart and Mind, is derail my stream and have me talk about money all night, which I'm not going to do. So it's a nice try, but if you do try it again, you're not going to be here anymore. Okay?
Wait, so...
how about...
Wait. All right. So first off, you're saying you're basically admitting that you have no savings whatsoever. So we're living completely and totally hoof the mouth, or hoof the snout, I should say, with no backup plan or contingency whatsoever. He is completely and totally and utterly dependent on people coming in every day to give him money, just so he can keep buying shit to beg off of. Because let's be honest, he doesn't make money playing games for a living, ladies and gentlemen. That's an illusion. Okay, that's a delusion. Let's go ahead and get that taken care of right here, right now. He makes money begging, and he needs the tools of the trade to beg in our interesting internet age of panhandling, which he's decided to do that through video games. So He begs every day for you guys to give him money so he can buy other new shiny trinkets so he can beg off the back of those and keep the cycle going. There is no money in savings. There's no money for contingency. If Cat gets sick, what happens? If he gets sick, like seriously sick, not like the gouty ear shit, what happens? If his parents pass away suddenly, or if they become deathly ill suddenly, how's he going to get out there to see them? What about Kat and her family, or at least the family that she's in contact with? This man has nothing on the goddamn ball. Not a goddamn thing. So why the fuck are we defending him? Like how is he successful at his business and that's why people are trying to take him down? What business? The business of begging? He just admitted to you guys that he doesn't have anything at all. If he can't come on stream every day and beg, he has nothing. He has nothing. I mean, I appreciate his honesty, to be honest with you. I appreciate that, but that's what he told you. Oh shit. And then how are you going to get mad that someone's going to make inquiries about your financial situation and what would happen if you can't raise capital, right? Or your issues with liquidity, I should say. When you bring up the fact that hey guys, I really need you guys to support me every day because I need the money for the new consoles. I need the money for the new games coming up. I need money to keep the business going. I need the money to buy groceries. I need the money for everyday stuff around the house. That's your fault. So if anybody is going to make inquiries on that, especially if there's someone that contributes to you, they actually have a right to that to some degree. To some degree. That's, oh boy. And then and that's his own fault. No one told him to put any of that out there. Because, ladies and gentlemen, what is all this supposed to be? I mean, it's begging, but what's the pig lore behind it? What is the actual pig gnosis? Crowdfunding. And to crowdfund, right, he has to tell you guys what his circumstances and what his situation is. So you guys can contribute to it, right? To give you guys some, air quotes, transparency into where that money's going, right? So if you continue to do this 6 days a goddamn week, 6 days a week, right? Even though you had what, $25,000 to $30,000 allegedly that came off the vest streak, and then in the last couple of months in the last 2 months, he had back-to-back $3,000 bit cheers that was given to him on top of subs, on top of tips, on top of tips behind the scenes, on top of Patreon, and then if he's making any money off Teespring and whatever other avenues he has, like, there's no way that you can say that if you have a bad streaming week that you're completely and totally screwed. Either you're completely and totally inept with your money, right? Or you're lying. It's one of the two. Now, granted, obviously we all know it goes to WWE champions, but that addiction's his fault. Pure and simple. But the only way we're going to know is if people bleed him. People are going to need to bleed him. Because if you really think about it, if you really take things into consideration, ladies and gentlemen, this idiot was squandering money on WWE champions throughout even before the bankruptcy. And certainly throughout it. And then he was granted it, which is essentially a second chance, and yet he's still choosing to throw money away in WWE champions. And then he fucked himself over on the vest streak because he was tired of people making fun of him. You hear that even now. He's tired of people making fun of him with with whatever vest that is chosen, usually the platinum vest, because he looks like Mr. fucking Potato Head wrapped up in aluminum foil. And it was uncomfortable for him because he said it made him hot. But who cares? You're making $100 a night, or you were making $200 a day, I should say. But yeah, $100 a night. So who gives a shit? And what happened to the chair spinning gimmick? That's gone. What happened to the Skittles scam? That's gone. He ripped them off of what was it? Like if you paid him $20 to eat 3 Skittles. So, and how many Skittles come in a bag? 20? 30? So he was going to try to scam them for hundreds of dollars, and he somehow fucked that all up. And then the vest streak, which was the real lick, of all of it, it was probably his biggest moneymaker that was consistent over what, 5 months. And he completely and totally destroyed it because the detractors, trolls, haters, and critics got to him. Which goes back to something that I've said before, that this man will put his ego, not pride, but his ego over money. Jesus Christ. Holy shit. All right, let's continue. Let's continue. Like, anyway, he just admitted to you guys that he has no savings whatsoever. He has no backup plan. He has nothing. And then I'm also leaving something out. I'm sure Mommy Brunel still sends him money every month, or at least twice a month at the very least. At the very least, she sends him money twice a month. And yet he still can't get his shit together. He is 38 years old, ladies and gentlemen. He is 38 years old, who sits up here and claims that he runs a successful business, who claims that other streamers don't know what they're doing. They're nowhere nearly as they're only successful because of inflation, right? Basically, like they have inflate because companies put them in positions to be popular, right? Not that they were actually likable people from the beginning, and that's how they got noticed from the companies, and which in turn made them more popular, right? Whatever, that's would require way too much common sense. He says that the gaming culture currently is corrupt, right? Because review copies, early copies, influencer copies shouldn't be made available, despite the fact that he, even to this day, to a much smaller degree, benefits from those same practices. And he had benefited from those practices in the past. But yet, he knows everything about everything, right? For the most part. And it's everybody else who's wrong. And then when people say, well, why aren't you doing what the more successful people are doing? Oh, because I'm different. Because I'm unique. I don't need to do things their way. But they don't have to come up here and beg because they're already successful. Well, yeah, they're successful because of what they're doing. So why aren't you doing what they're doing? Because I'm different. Huh? Shut up. I just need crowdfunding. That's why you guys need to support me. But why won't you put in the work that they put in so you can be successful? Because I rely on crowdfunding. What? Like, when you really sit there and think about the nonsense, it just sprouts out into even more nonsense. It's really strange. And it's really contradicting, and it's really pathetic, because you're going to sit here and say, I'm not like them. I don't do what they do, and that's what makes me successful, right? Even though he bitches and complains, and has multiple times over the years, about how he doesn't have the same opportunities that they do because of detractors, trolls, haters, and critics. But he then will contradict that by saying, oh, I could have had an opportunity to get free games. I could have had an opportunity to maybe get a free console. I had a chance to talk to publishers and whatever and get free stuff, but I chose not to. I wanted to go ahead and feel the bite in my pocket just like everybody else. I'm not going to be a corporate shill. I'm not going to be a corporate talking head, and that's why I'm me. But then he's sitting there on Twitter spazzing the fuck out because everybody's getting consoles for free, or influencer copies, or influencer whatever, and he don't. So why would you bitch about it? Why would you bitch and complain about a practice that you hate, even though you're low-key crying about you're not getting a chance to participate in those practices? Does no one see some type of issue with this? Semantics.
Mind your fucking business and enjoy the stream for the gameplay, or leave. How about that? Okay, I want to switch him out to him.
May knowledge.
Okay. Oh, sorry. People seriously want to get into like my business and shit constantly. Like, what are you talking about? Gee, let's make a hypothetical where Phil makes no money for like a month, $0. What would happen? Gee, how the fuck would I know? Like, you, it's the stupidest questions. Anyway, let's navigate. How about this?
Wait,
here's a hypothetical.
You couldn't tell me. I'm being a dick about this, but let's be practical. If you had no income come in for a month, Phil, like let's say, for example, let's say Phil couldn't talk for a month. Let's just say for whatever reason he screws something up in his throat or whatnot, and he physically couldn't speak. Or let's say, what do they call that? It happens in war sometimes. or if you're overly stressed out, like hysterical blindness and whatnot. Let's say he suffered from that for whatever reason. He's sitting there he's hitting the gen real hard one night, and some detractors, some detractors are having some conversation with him on Twitter. Phil freaks out for whatever reason and goes through hysterical blindness or some shit, and he can't play video games for like 2 or 3 weeks. Let's say, God forbid, let's say something like that happens. Phil, what the fuck is going to happen to you? I'll tell you guys what's going to happen to him. He's going to have cat, or he'll use or he'll use speech to text to go ahead and make a message on Twitter, boo-hooing and shit, and doing it probably a couple times a day, every day, right? Or he'll have cat type it up for him. All of the fucking tards and shit will come out and support his dumb ass, right? The detractors are going to fucking laugh their asses off about it. He's going to definitely call mommy and daddy, and they're going to send him a shitload of money, right? Because they're going to want to try to compensate him, and he'll just make it by. He's just going to skirt by. And then he's going to make people in his own fan base feel bad that he won't be able to either continue to play the hot new releases that are already out that he's supposed to be finishing, but he wasn't going to finish anyway, or he was barely going to finish because he's already bitching and complaining about how poorly the games are doing, or how poorly the games are designed because he's doing so poorly at it. Or the hot new releases that were going to come out and that he was looking forward to playing, that they're already on his gaming schedule, despite the fact he said that he was going to need to raise up the money to actually buy those games so he could play them. Despite the fact that people had already donated to the game to him anyway, whether through buying it off his Amazon wish list, whether donating PSN or Xbox Live credits to him directly, or him getting a sponsored or influencer copy behind the scenes and not telling anybody. That bacon's smelling really, really good today. It's smelling real good. Let's continue.
All right, now please don't just take this as a hypothetical. What would happen if I had a stream where someone didn't ask me stupid, intrusive questions the whole stream, right? A stream where people were just here to enjoy the gameplay instead of be assholes to me and try to get into my personal business. What would happen? I'll tell you what. I mean,
one, your streams would be boring if that was to happen. Two, the gameplay is always going to be garbage because for whatever reason you feel the need not to try. And so then when you fail, you get mad because he believes games should be inherently easy. It shouldn't require a lot. They should just be fun. And being fun apparently doesn't mean that there should be any challenges. I don't know why he thinks that, but somewhere in the Darksydephil mental coding, that's how gaming is supposed to work.
I fall off the ledge just like that. So there you go. And see, Dr. Tony Huge says, I guess my gifted subs mean nothing. Good, Dr. Tony Huge, I understand I'm not complaining about anything. Like I said, you guys have been amazing recently. We got a ton of gifted subs from people, including you. We've got people who are actively tipping and cheering and contributing. I got a couple large cheers in the last 2 months that have been really nice. No one's complaining. That's what I mean. This guy's asking about a stupid hypothetical that's not going to happen, as if, gee, if everything went to shit, what would happen? Then I guess my life would be shitty if everything went to shit, wouldn't it? Like, how about you don't ask dumb questions?
Wait, how are you going to say that's not going to happen when you've said in the past, you've given off hypothetical Pignosis, our favorite game. You've played that a couple of times by saying, hey, if you guys don't support me, I don't know what's next week going to look like. I don't know what's next month going to look like. Matter of fact, doesn't he, because he kind of, we've come full circle to some degree, right? With the way the current climate has shaped out, where he needs you guys, he needs his fan base's help just getting to his Twitch paycheck, which is on the 15th, right? Doesn't say anything about the YouTube paycheck anymore. He actually needs support in the 2 weeks leading up to his Twitch payday, right? And then after he gets paid, he doesn't say anything for, maybe a week. And then he says, and then he'll be like, at the last week of the month, I need you guys' support to get me through the end of the month because I have to get all this stuff the following month. And then also I need you guys' help to get me back to my next paycheck. We've gone back to that situation, which if any of you guys who've been sticking around for any period of time, you know, that was the situation in 2017, 2018, kind of 2019, but mainly 2017 and 2018 was when he used to pull that bullshit. hey guys, I really need your support right now. You know, I don't get paid from Twitch in like for another like 10 days. So, but I need to get there. So I need you guys to support as much as you can until I, you know, get to that money, and then we'll be all good. And then, you know, we'll be good for a little while. Well, what do you mean you're going to be good for a little while when you can go back and because people have done the research and see that that payday was like $10,000. What do you mean you'll be okay? And then now, if you look at the landscape now, because the thing is way different than 2017, we don't have credit card bills to worry about no more. All that got dismissed. He doesn't have. I mean, he's going to get sued by, or at least it looks like he's going to be sued by mid-first. But is it mid-first or mid-third? I think it's mid-first. He's going to get sued by mid-first, but he's not. But he's not paying any money there. He's not paying any property tax, as far as we know. He's not paying any insurance on the Connecticut condo. He's not paying anything over there. So theoretically, for the time being, that's wiped off the board. So the only thing he has to worry about is his mortgage on the Snort fort, his and whatever and everything that has to do with Washington. Essentially, that's all he has to pay for. He's not even paying his state and occupation tax, as far as we know, or his federal tax, because supposedly the guy who's doing his federal tax is saying that the IRS hasn't opened up enough to where they can tell him exactly what he owes and how they're going to structure his payment plan. So he's not even paying taxes right now, allegedly. So essentially, ladies and gentlemen, thousands upon thousands of dollars that should be sent out each and every month to handle some of these obligations no longer exist. So where's the money going? Matter of fact, when he had the vest streak, right, which ended at what, 276, you're talking about $25,000, $30,000, something along those lines. All of a sudden the vest streak dies, and then not even a month or two later, he talking about he broke and he doesn't know if he can afford stuff. Where did all that money go? Oh, to pay attorney's fees. Attorney fees for what? For what? You had to pay your bankruptcy attorney up front. And then the guy who's working on your taxes, allegedly, isn't even doing that because he can't, because supposedly he's waiting on the government. So what fees is he paying there? And Kat works, by the way. Let's not forget that. Kat does have a job. She does have an occupation. Oh boy.
People just want to stir the shit, is what it is. They want to try to get a rise, stir the shit, get me to talk. They want to get me to sound like I'm ungrateful, which I'm not. I'm super grateful for everything, how good things have been this year. It's been a crazy positive this year. Seriously.
I mean, theoretically, didn't you say that the only reason why you're at where you're at is because of the fan base? So it's not this year. What about the crazy support you got last year? Or the support before that? Especially last year, because that was the only way you were able to marry Kat. That's 2019. What about all the support he got in 2018? That supposed support that allowed him and Kat to move in with each other. How about that nonsense? What about the support in 2017 when Panda smartened up and finally left his bitch ass, and he was going through that dry spell, all that depression and all that bullshit, and his fan base was the only thing keeping him on the up and up? What about all the support in 2016 that kept his business afloat after the detractors, in air quotes, supposedly sunk DSPGaming in 2015? So what do you mean crazy support this year when in actuality they've been supporting you for multiple years? That's the first thing. Secondly, how is it that, people are trying to make it seem like I'm ungrateful when I'm really not? I'm grateful for everything. If that's the case, then how do you have the nerve to say that contributions are not mandatory, but it's been a slow night, guys. We only made $30. Or the first stream, guys, was extremely slow, man. I only made like 50-something bucks, so I really need you guys to come out and support. Does that sound like someone who's fucking grateful? I'd be grateful to get a cup of coffee around here. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But you're telling me that you made $50 in a stream, you only made $50 in a stream, and it was a slow stream, and now you need people to make up the difference in the next stream? That right there, that makes you sound grateful? That's humbling you in some situation that you should be even glad that you made $50, that you even had a small demographic of people to even come out and watch you with the, I wouldn't say the express notion, but at least who felt generous to step into their, to reach into their pockets and throw some money at you. I think any streamer would be appreciative of that. But Phil is like, oh, you guys didn't hit the goal, or the idiots in the morning didn't hit the goal, so I need you guys tonight to make up the difference. Does that sound like being grateful to you? Jesus Christ, if what I've been told is true, there's been detractors who cried on stream because they were happy about the contributions that they got. That sounds like someone who's grateful. Not someone who's like, oh, I need you guys to really come out and support because the earlier streams were kind of slow. That doesn't sound like being grateful. Just saying.
People just want to focus on negative shit constantly. Oh, let's see here. Lettuce Conquerors now asking about the value of items in my house. G Lettuce Conqueror. Alright, you know what? Lettuce Conqueror. Now he's asking about me fighting Mike Tyson. I've had enough. I've had enough of this. So you're out of here for good. And you're not coming back. Okay? Who else wants to fuck around tonight? Seriously. Who else wants to ask me personal shit? Who else wants to start with memes? Negative memes? I mean, go right for it. Seriously. Anyone else?
I mean, if that's the case, since we're gonna start up, I will. I'm gonna figure out how I'm gonna structure it. But the pork and the pork and wing show is a thing. I'm still working on the name, by the way, but that is a thing. I mean, Wings of Redemption already said he taxed that ass. So I mean, that's a thing. You know, and I believe Wings when he says it too. I think Wings says he needs like 2 good hits on Phil, and Phil's done. In actuality, he doesn't. He only needs 1. He only needs 1 hit on Phil, and that's it. Like, literally. He just needs 1 good body shot, or he just needs 1 straight hit to the jaw, and Phil's done. He is done. Even if he's not knocked out, he's going to hit the ground, he's going to be crying, he's going to be bleeding, he's going to be basically, he's basically going to be soaking in his own salty marinara. He's not going to want no more after that. Pure and simple. And DSP can say whatever he wants. I think when that was initially brought up, DSP was like, oh, I'll just go ahead and I'll maneuver around him until he tires out. You're probably in worse shape than Jordy is. And Jordy has you outdone by at least 100 pounds. 100 plus, I would think, because sadly, Jordy's put most of the weight back on. So, I mean, that's a wrap. Pure and simple. Speaking of which, since we're talking about lolcows, big ups to the low tier God community and Ghostly Wins, by the way, too. But big ups to all of them because they've been at LTG's throat lately, and there's some interesting stuff that came out of that over the span of my hiatus. Like LTG was being investigated, or he may still be. He's being investigated by YouTube. So that's a thing, and I definitely want to find out more about that because depending on why they're investigating him and what they have on him, I wonder if some of that can be applied to Porky Boy over here. So that's a thing in itself, as well as other nonsense too. So look forward to that. There might be a broadcast in the future going over some of that stuff because that shit was real interesting. Like there's a lot of interesting stuff that came out of that. On top of that, and one more instance, I should say, of LTG nonsense. Somebody in his fan base stepped out of pocket for whatever reason on some silly shit. And low tier God made this guy pay him $300, or I think it ended up being $150, and had him write out a written apology that Dale fucking read out on stream. That's what they doing? Like, now don't be wrong, Phil has as well as his scat fetish, Phil has an apology fetish too. But LTG out here making dudes write fucking essays and shit to express how sorry they are. Oh boy, shit's getting crazy out there. So anyway, big ups to the LTG detractor troll community and shit like that. That shit was, I've thoroughly enjoyed watching the content over there. Absolutely amazing. And big ups to Wings and all his trolls and detractors too. It's a crazy time we live in, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go.
Like a normal conversation instead of being a fucking idiot. Like this idiots tonight who are really trying to fucking bother me. You know, I'm here to have a chill stream. I said tonight, this is really the final chill before the gaming storm. Because after tonight, every day we're going to be playing new releases. Tomorrow we got Watch Dogs Legion. We got Little Hope on Friday. We're going to balance that, you know, Watch Dogs Legion with other stuff over the course of this coming week. Within a week, we've got a ton of new releases and the PS5 launch. So we got a lot of shit.
Didn't he sit there and bitch and complain about Watch Dog Legion though, and talk about how it was such a bad game and it couldn't actually live up to the 2 games that came out before it or the game previous to it and whatnot? And it looked like he was going to rage quit it. I think he actually beat it, but it looked like he was going to end up rage quitting it. And yet again, this is something that Tevin as well as other detractors have pointed out, where he'll sit here and hype up all these games, right? And say how, you know, how exciting it's going to be because Phil looks at anything new as being exciting. And then he ends up dunking on them less than a week later, if not outright quitting them. He's a terrible salesperson. Horrible salesperson.
Very, very, very
Which
soon.
actually, real quick, is even more ironic because you have an individual who can't even shill, if you will, his streams, his merchandise, himself, right? But he has the nerve to talk shit about other people who are shills and who try to push things onto their fan base or onto other people and who are successful at it. Isn't that crazy? Even in Phil's better days, he really wasn't that good at convincing people to buy shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how many people really purchase stuff off of his Teespring in his best days? How many people really purchase things off of his Cafe Press? You know what I mean? How many people, I mean, a decent amount of people must have joined. If it wasn't his $50 tier on Patreon, it was his $75 tier on Patreon to get the free Project 7 shirts when he was giving those away. I assume a decent amount of people, you know, did contribute to that. But I thought recently he said he still had a box in the Nook that still had a bunch of Project 7 shirts in it. I don't know. He lies so often, it's hard to keep up.
And I want to just have a nice relaxing stream with my audience before we're constantly into a situation where it's all new games and we can't have fun conversations all the time. But I'm not going to sit here and let people derail my stream and be fucking stupid idiots trying to cause drama and ask me personal shit they know I can't answer. So, I mean, this is a good opportunity maybe for me to clean house. People who are here just to troll tonight, I can just take care of them right away. And don't have to worry about them when I'm playing the new releases. That actually is probably a really good thing, huh? Okay. So, let's see here. Fruity Loops S97 took me $1.30 and said, I feel like people who obsess over waifus. Hold on. Let's step here. In real life are creeps and deviants. I try to avoid them. See, there's a difference between people who are just being stupid and silly or immature versus people who are, like, obsessive. You know, people who are completely obsessed are people who, I marry a virtual avatar girl that doesn't exist. No, people don't have waifus due to mental health issues. People have waifus because, like anything, when you're younger, a little bit immature, and, you know, if you don't have a significant other or a woman who's interested in you, then you start lusting over fake women and shit. It's very immature thinking, you know? Now, listen.
Wait. You were like, weren't you like 28, 29 when you and Panda started dating? And you had, what was that, White Queen and Black Cat in your bedroom that I assume that you were shooting piglets out at. And you were dating Panda and still had that. And for Panda to go ahead and put her mark, because that's kind of what she was doing. She was marking her territory somewhat. You guys have seen it in the condo walkthroughs, or you saw it in Tevin's Back in Time, where she took the little panda plush and put it in between Black Cat's boobs on that bust of his, or of hers, I should say. You had all that going on. And he was in his late 20s. He was almost 30, ladies and gentlemen, when that happened. So it's not like someone in their early 20s or in their teens. He was in his late 20s. He was knocking on 30's door when he was doing that nonsense. Just something to think about. Or, like I said, if you go back into Tevin's Back in Time, most of the female statues he had, he was ogling over and shit. And it's funny how a lot of them statues are broken, and they're broken in very strange ways. Anyway.
because I say stuff like that. But, you know, when I was much, much younger, of course you fantasize about fantasy characters and shit because you're stupid. Then you realize, oh my god, I'm wasting my time. Why don't I just, you know, actually try to do mature stuff like, you know, attract a real woman. You know what I'm
But you
saying?
couldn't attract a real... Well, first off, you were lusting over that shit. Don't get me wrong. I hear people saying that they lust over certain characters all the time and shit. But with Phil, you know he was really lusting over that shit. But not just that. You sat there... You know what? Let's just bring that back. Let's just go ahead and bring that back.
Just, you know, actually try to do mature stuff like, you know, attract a real woman. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So attract a real woman. That's what I was missing. You didn't exactly attract Panda to you though, nor Cat. Let me explain. So when the situation with Panda is, Panda reached out to him, said she liked his content, and Phil from that day on obsessively hounded this girl into being his girlfriend. Now, why didn't that happen to what was that chick's name? Gamer. Oh, I don't know a lot about her in particular. I don't know. She was like a really well-known female fan of Phil's for a long ass time. Anyway, I can't think of her name right now. I apologize on that part of my DSP lore. I'm not that well versed in her complete and total story. But there was some gamer girl that was a big fan of Phil's from back in the day, and she used to message him all the time, and I think she was pretty well versed, or she was pretty well involved in the DSP sphere, unless she was underage. Like, that's been a problem for Phil. What was the situation with that? But let's go ahead and back that up for a minute. As it pertains to Phil and Panda, you obsessively messaged this girl until she agreed to date you. Panda has said this publicly, right? So that's how he was able to get that relationship started. With Kat, he took advantage of a woman who was already in a... Well, her situation is questionable, to be honest, because there's obviously two sides to every story. And according to Superman, it wasn't that bad. It was just, she was just a lazy bitch. And for her, Phil makes it sound like she was abused on the regular. Why would Phil even disclose that is beyond anything, but whatever. I wouldn't say he said that. He has implied that she was abused in some way, shape, or form. Not necessarily physically, though. It could have been more psychologically or emotionally. Who could say? I honestly would say that if there's any type of at least psychological abuse, she's probably dealing with that now. Or at least emotional abuse, I should say. Because Phil is completely self-absorbed in himself. He cares about nothing else but himself. So how much comfort, if you will, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, do you really think Kat is getting from this idiot? He can barely comfort himself. That's why he's out there obsessing about the tractors all day. But whatever. He basically targeted Kat because she was in a vulnerable situation, which he knew of, and used his fan base as a slush fund to move her from Michigan over to Washington State, where he basically entrapped her. Because where else was she going to go? Now, there are plenty of questions, and there's an actually interesting debate on whether she's there now or not. We can get into that at a later time and date. But the point is he goes after young and impressionable or vulnerable women. That's what his taste is. Just like Drake has a taste for porn stars and strippers. It is what it is. If that's what he's into, that's what he's into. I mean, for Drake anyway, I think he likes women that he can do what he wants, what he can throw away. I think for Phil, I think he likes the idea of attracting women who have no choice but to be dependent on him. In turn, they don't leave him. And that's one of the things that he fucked up with Panda in the first place. The moment that she got a job and she was able to get some independence and she was able to find out more about herself, she broke off and left. With Kat, you have someone who's already a shut-in, right? And outside of despite whatever outside activity she may or may not have, essentially, she gets up and goes to work. She hangs out with her son Jasper and she plays games. That's it. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't really do much of anything else. And Phil was very adamant about restricting what she can do on the internet. That's why Instagram got abandoned. That's the reason why Twitter got abandoned. That's why YouTube got abandoned. And that's why Twitch got abandoned. There's no reason why that if she can't stream on Twitch, then she can't stream on YouTube. There's no reason why if she can't stream, period, that why she can't make videos. He purposely cut her off from all of those different avenues. And the only reason why that is so he can keep her focused on the stuff that he wants her to do. Essentially cook and clean and take care of him. And work. Anybody ever really thought about that? If not, I'm allowing you to let that go through your noodle for a minute. And he did that on purpose. He purposely did that. He's told us almost as much. But that's the type of women that he has a taste for. And because Kat is a bit of a shut-in, she probably doesn't require much physically or emotionally, which is something that he couldn't supply to, something that he couldn't live up to or supply to Panda. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because Panda is on record for saying that, you know, after they left the East Coast and went to the West Coast, basically any intimacy dropped off. And then he got caught jerking off on stream not long after that. With Kat, do you really think Kat wants to be touched by this individual? So with that being said, that worked out to his advantage. And Phil doesn't come across as the Italian stallion that he tries to make himself out to be. I think he's as physically impotent as he is mentally. So with that being said, that's another thing he can kind of mark off the list of things he doesn't have to worry about doing. I'm not saying that they never do it. I mean, I assume he takes showers for a reason. But, well, twice a week. But anyway, I assume that there's probably some panty time, but certainly not a lot. Certainly not enough that would be considered a healthy relationship. Because if that was the case, ladies and gentlemen, why the fuck would he be so angry? Anybody ever thought about that? Like, there's no reason why someone who's 38 years old should be upset at the smallest shit day in, day out. And every day he's angry. Every day. In the words of Chris Rock, this is obviously someone who's not getting his medicine. Something to think about.
But, you know, I don't fault anyone who's young or single or whatever. And I don't want to talk about it endlessly either because, you know, when I was younger, just like everyone was like that. And now I'm older and I'm not like that. Because I'm married. I don't need to think about that kind of shit anymore. Because it's stupid. Now I know that. I didn't know that back then. Now
but you being married doesn't change that situation. That should be a more maturity type thing. You put that stuff away because you're no longer a child, not because you're married. That's not you growing up and getting more mature. That's just a change of situation. You've just moved from one addiction to another. You've just moved from one bad habit to another one, essentially. If you think about it, I'm not saying that you getting married is a bad habit. I'm just saying that it's very much just, I don't want to call it an addiction either, but I'll use the addiction. No, let me not use the addiction angle because that's not what it is. But he's just moving from one thing to another. He's just monkey barring from one situation to another. There, that works out. That's not a sign of maturity. That's not a sign of maturity at all. He's just moving from one thing to another. That's all it is. Basically what he's saying is if Kat wasn't there, then maybe he would be okay. Then not even maybe he'd be okay, because he still kind of does it. He would still be gawking at virtual chicks. That's all that is. I mean, you can see that through his Judgment gameplay, as well as other games that have female characters in it. He still kind of does it now, but he dials it back. If Kat wasn't there, it would probably still happen. More than likely it would.
What is going on here? ML Gibson Judy said, I think waifu culture is stupid, but I also am sympathetic to people who can't get a girlfriend. Here, listen, this is the thing. Do what you want with your life, dude. I'm not going to sit here and criticize anybody and say, oh, this is right or wrong. I'm telling you. For me...
But didn't you say it was silly and stupid? Is that not considered criticisms? If I think your attitude is silly and stupid, is that not me criticizing you in some way? I'm just asking. Clarification.
anything I'm interested in. So as long as you don't bother me and tell me that I should or shouldn't be involved in it or whatever. That's the thing. People are dumb kids and they want to try. Oh, Phil, huh? He has a wife, so he can't have a waifu. Yeah, I don't want a waifu. Listen, I can do whatever I want, but I don't want a waifu because I love my fucking real life wife way more than any fucking virtual character ever in history. She's the most meaningful relationship I've ever had in my life. And I want to spend the rest of my life with this woman. Why the fuck do I have to fantasize about a fantasy character?
Why did you get ready to say she's the most beautiful woman to stopping that shit and saying it's the most meaningful? So, do you not think that Cat's attractive? Has the horse memes kind of gotten to you? We're gonna really reach on this one. Are you going to overlook Cat's physical attributes and you only see her for what she does for you? Is it fair to say that's what you do with all people? Because under reasonable circumstances, ladies and gentlemen, how Phil treats people, treats Cat is in a lot of ways on how he treats everybody, to be honest with you, which is something that I've said multiple times, is that he's someone who uses people. If you don't have a function, right? If you don't have a utility to you, then you're discarded. Pure and simple. Like, that's how Phil's mind works. And that comes from the fact that he believes that's how people have treated him. Oh, I was only useful to them for a certain amount of time, and as soon as they felt that I wasn't useful or they found someone better, they got rid of me. That's on him. But but that's how his mind works. Everybody has a use in some way, shape, or form. And if you don't, then he doesn't see a need for you to be around. So, excuse me. We don't look at Cat as for the person that she is, right? And for what we're gonna stretch this a little bit, but we don't look at the joy and the love and the compassion or anything that this woman has brought into his life over the last 2 years. We're not doing that. We're looking at what she can do or what she does do for him on a daily basis. That's what her use is. That's what makes her meaningful. I'm just asking. Because how many people talk about their significant other and don't go into some of the things that they see every day? You know what I mean? It's more about, it's not just what they do, right? But what you see in that person when you look at them. And I'm not talking about completely the more vainer aspects of someone's physical beauty or so on and so forth. It's something about them, right? It's how beautiful they are as a person that stands out to you. Phil isn't exactly demonstrating that. He's focusing more on what she does for him more than what she means to him, if that makes sense. Just something to think about.
Now, if you never had that experience like I do, you don't get it. And you make fun of me for it, well, I pity you. Because you're the person who doesn't have the meaningful relationship to make fun of me because I don't want to have that silly, virtual, frivolous thought in my head about a waifu. It's so dumb, in my opinion. But if you don't have that, I'm not one here to tell you you can't do that. You know, that's up to you to live your life however you want, right? All right, here we go.
Now, wait a second. This is coming from the same guy who was in like a 5-year-long relationship with Panda and yet got caught jerking off on stream, and then years later said that the reason why his incident happened is because he was depressed because Panda was basically making him depressed, and that they weren't really intimate a lot, which we already know that, but that's his fault though. She was the one who said that she wanted to. And she was expecting more of it, and he couldn't live up to the expectations. He couldn't live up to his obligations. He no longer was useful. Which is the reason why she strayed off and found something else. You see where that utilitarianship kind of comes into play? Where if you don't serve a function, then you get replaced? Because that's how he feels that people have done to him. Panda may have been the last breaking straw mentally for him when it comes to that. Just something to think about. Just something to think about. And even then, we can't even say that was Panda's breaking point because she still stuck around and dealt with his ass. Just you know what I'm saying? Take it all in. He's someone who daily kind of demonstrates himself as a basement dweller type loser that he calls other people, right? But then hides behind the caveat that, oh, I'm married, so I'm not a loser. But you carry yourself like a loser, though. You out and out publicly, day in, day out, carry yourself off like a loser. You come on stream, disheveled, unshaven, more often than not, unwashed. You know what I'm saying? You're mentally inept at everything that you do. Everything you say is almost parroted from someone else or just outright out your ass, which just makes it just stupid. You really can't socialize with people despite the fact that you do it every day. You beg for money because you're a failure. You never saved any money in your life. Any time that you made some significant amount of money, you frivolously spent that shit on dumb crap, as you're still doing. You put your business out there, and that's why people know it. People didn't have to deep dive into some real shit. Even with his bankruptcy, no one had to deep dive in that. That was public record. The crazy part is, and I just saw, I just pulled a segment recently from Noel, from the Kiwi Farms YouTube channel, where when Phil's bankruptcy information came out, Phil admits in a soundbite, which I'm sure it's in a SnortBucks video, it's in a Mighty D video, it's in a MrHuth stuff video. He admits that he didn't even know that information was going to go public. So, which means that he wasn't going to tell these people that he was filing for bankruptcy, but he was still going to bleed them for as much money as he could. And then he only conceived into basically telling them about the bankruptcy because he had no choice. He had no choice. And in him verifying it didn't even mean anything because everybody already knew. He was already banning people from his chat for even bringing it up. Oof.
Cog 1392 tipped me $1.30. So what about girls having husbandos? I mean, it's the same thing, right? If you're seeing out virtual relationships instead of real ones in real life, I mean, you're wasting your time. You're not going to get anything out of that. No, there's going to be no reciprocation because the person's not real. I mean, it's pretty simple, right? It's a pretty simple concept of understanding why it's ridiculous. Well, again, it depends on your age, your maturity level, all kinds of factors. It's not, but again, this is not something that's so terrible either. You know, like I said, I don't condemn someone because they. But
you said it was. But you said it was silly and stupid. If I called you silly and stupid, you'd be mad as fuck. Actually, you are mad as fuck because multiple people call you silly and stupid on a daily basis, and what you do is silly and stupid. But you don't think that's not condemning in some way, shape, or form, or that's not judging or not criticizing? All right, whatever.
Waifus and waifu or husbando culture or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm certainly not into it. I don't know. I'm not well versed in it to really be commenting anyway. Sabuka 2020 did 100-bit cheers. Are you good on tips for a while after the great stream Monday? I'm looking forward to the new games. Listen, I hate when people ask a question like that. Are you okay on tips for a while? There's no being okay on tips. Tips that I get, I now can spend on something that's important, right? And that's that. It's not.
Now, you see how not save up for things that are important to spend on things that's important. You guys see what I was trying to say earlier on? He's a spender. He's not a saver. It goes back to what Omar Little said in The Wire. Money don't have no owners, just spenders. And that's exactly how he looks at money. He doesn't look at money as something that you should have stockpiled for a rainy day. Of course he don't, because he don't even know what a rainy day fund is. And when people explained it to him, he said they were wrong. Until people really did fucking go into depth on how stupid he was and how inept he was that someone of his age didn't know what a rainy day fund was. And then he changed his fucking narrative. Because that shows you what kind of a loser Phil Burnell is. Not the fact that he can't admit that he's wrong. But then he'll change it up later, right? After he's gotten all this backlash and try to make you guys feel stupid because you guys didn't explain it to him properly. You guys didn't illustrate your point to him in a way for him to grasp it. Really just minute, silly shit when you think about it in the larger scope of it all. To be very honest. But that's his problem. He's turned streaming into a day-by-day ATM situation. That's pretty much all it is. It's just people coming by and paying their tithes, or just pushing their money into his piggy snout as if he was an ATM machine. That's it. There's no long-term success that comes from something out of that, because if he goes, I think honestly Phil could go a month and he's going to be hurting because he's not going to be able to spend the way he wants to spend, but he'll be fine. If he completely got rid of the WWE Champions bullshit and stopped going out once a week and spending money on dumb shit you don't need, he'd be fine and start saving his fucking money. But he won't, because he's a fucking tard, and he believes that spending money verifies his success, even if no one else knows that, even if it's just something between him and Kat. That right there signifies his success, because I can go out and I can buy whatever I want whenever I want it, and that right there tells me that I'm a successful person. But aren't people who save their money and then go out and buy it later on even more successful than that? Because not only my bad, let's reword it. You demonstrated discipline and the ability to plan out for future problems or future situations. Then the thing is, so since you were able to exercise these tomes, right? Since you were able to display these particular features, if you will, for the lack of a better term, you are better for it, because now the thing that you thought you wanted, you realize I may have wanted that, but I don't need that. And then later on down the line, if you decide, you know what, I've put away a certain amount of money, or a good amount of money, I should say. All my bills are taken care of. I'm actually up when it comes to my financial situation. And that thing I wanted is now cheaper and is now a bit more stable. Let's say take the next gen consoles, for instance, because every gen has its bricks and it declines as the generations go on. You know what? I don't mind throwing $300 down on that, whereas, maybe 6 months ago it was going to cost me $500. Don't you think that person's a bit smarter than the person who can just go out and buy it day one? Yeah, you get the prestige of buying it day one, but who really gives a shit when we live in a day and age that any of us, if you really wanted to, you could go out and buy a day one console. Yeah, you might have to disregard some shit to do it, but you could do it. There's no prestige in buying anything day one, to be honest. Who cares? More often than not, people are going to wait on it anyway. You're buying it. The only thing that there's no prestige that comes out of anything for buying anything day one. The only thing that really comes out of that is you get to go out and play it immediately because you want to play it immediately. If you're talking about this YouTube or Twitch cloud shit, no one gives a fuck. If you're well connected enough, you'll have that weeks in advance. And anybody who knows anything about YouTube or Twitch culture, at least the business aspect of it, you know that. So it doesn't mean anything about anything. It really don't. Darksydephil is one of those few people who still rely on the day one concept, but it doesn't even matter because he's still not going to pull nearly the amount of views that he used to pull from day ones. Back in the day, if he had anything day one, he could probably pull 15, 20, 30,000 easy. Now, he can't even break 10. So what good is it? Back in 2015, I just did a video on that on the main channel. I just did a new video about that actually on the main channel. It's not up yet, I don't think. But where he actually talks about that nonsense. And the people who were commenting on it were saying that you would have expected him to be able to hit 10,000 minimum for his channel. He couldn't even pull that. So just something to think about where as it pertains to just general business practice. And yet again, how this man displays his financial muscle or that lack thereof. His financial sense is about as deprived as his arms are, or as he is in general. He comes across as malnourished because he is. And because of that, mentally as well as physically, he suffers for it. This is no different. The way you do anything is usually the way you do everything. And that right there is relatable to Darksydephil in a way that I think few of us would ever find a better example of. In my own personal opinion, of course.
Tips and say, oh yeah, because Monday was a great tips night. I don't think I should ever make tips again for another month. I'm good. Like, what? No, that's not how business works. The point is, if you like my streams, okay, you'll support the streams. If, you know, if you can. It's not required. But if you like the streams and you want to support, please do.
If it's not required, then why'd you say that if you like my streams, you'll support my streams? If they do like your streams, then aren't they showing up? Isn't that some form of support? That they're sitting there and they're watching your streams? Now, granted, he gives the caveat not too long afterwards that, oh, then you'll support it and whatnot if you can. But isn't the actual support coming from just showing up? Here, I'm going to bring this back a little bit. Isn't the actual support of a streamer or of a content creator on YouTube just showing up? Isn't that the start? Like, you have to build. It's like a relationship in some ways. You have to build up to it. You have to build up to that. You can't just go ahead and put something out. You think it's good, and by proxy, you think people should support it. It don't work that way. It shouldn't work that way. Go ahead and grind it out for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Put out a product that people see that you're constantly trying to improve, and you're constantly trying to get better at. If people choose to support you later when you make the options available to be supported, then great. But don't make it seem like an obligation from the rip, because that's what this is. And that's where Darksydephil always fucked up from. But then again, that goes back to the codependency issues that I keep bringing up, as well as others, is the fact that people have been supporting Darksydephil since the beginning. Since the beginning of his reign on YouTube. Not reign, but his existence on YouTube, I should say. He's been asking people to support him in one way or another, and he got it. And because he got it, he continued to push that narrative. And it's funny how, oh, I only went to crowd support or crowdfunding because I couldn't make ad revenue on YouTube, which is actually a lie, because even when he was swimming in ad revenue on YouTube, he was still getting crowd support and crowdfunding. And he was still getting people that were sending him games, as well as other peripherals behind the scenes, if you will. So he's always been supported, even in his better days, and has not a goddamn thing to show for it, which is insane. That's insane that you had someone who at one time was making $250,000, if not more, and was still getting support behind the scenes, and less than 10 years later has nothing to show for it. Yikes.
What? No, that's not how business works. The point is, if you like my streams, okay, you'll support the streams. If you can. It's not required, but if you like the streams and you want to support, please do. But it's not anyone's business or info to be, well, you know, Phil got some tips the other day, so that means he must be good for like a few weeks. He doesn't need any tips or nothing. What are you talking about? That's not how business works, right? What's the point of me getting a bunch of tips on Monday if then I make no money for the next 2 weeks? Then it just fucking, it's a wash, right? It's a wash. So you see what I mean? It's kind of a ridiculous line of thinking there.
Then if that's the case, then contributions are mandatory then, right? Because if you're looking at, if contributions are supposed to be the result of a day's work, right, then it is mandatory. If he's expecting it, and this is his business, this is his only source of income, so to speak, right? So in actuality, he did just demand that you guys do kind of have to give him money daily to keep the business going. So it's not, oh, if you can support, or even if you actually like the streams. If you want to see me keep doing this, and if you guys want a place to go that involves him, I should say, then you have to give him money so he can keep making it day to day. This isn't long-term thinking. He's literally telling them that day to day you have to support me. It's funny though that he brings up, oh, well, what happens if, because I did so well on Monday, I can go now a couple of weeks without money and I'll be fine. But they didn't even say that. They weren't even reaching out that far in the timeline. They really weren't. They were just saying, oh, well, you were okay. You made a good stack of money on Monday. You should be okay right now, right? That's only a couple of days later. That wasn't weeks in advance. I understand his exaggerating it to get his point across, but in actuality, all he's doing is proving his point that if you're not giving him money daily, he's going to flounder. And then he's only reinforcing what I'm saying, that he has no plan. He has no backup. He has no nothing, which means you don't give people like this credit. You really don't. He shows all of the mental faculties of someone who, once he gets credit again, he's going to blow that shit. He's going to blow that shit almost immediately, whether he has the income to back it up or not. Because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense on someone who makes 6 figures a year needed to be running off his credit cards anyway. That should have been used for emergencies. He was making enough in liquid capital. He had enough liquid capital that he didn't have to resort to credit cards. He could have paid in cash. He used credit cards because it was convenient and because, oh, I can push the payments down the line to when I feel like going ahead and paying it off. I can pay it off right now, but I don't feel like it. I'll just send some minimum monthly payments. I'll get to it when I feel like it, while continuing to still use those credit cards and rack up all that interest on purchases and so on and so forth, to the point where his income actually dries up, and the credit cards that should have been used for an emergency, he can't even rely on those because he ain't spent all that up leisurely while he was in a position where he didn't need to. You see where the poor financial sense comes into play? Buggy financial and life mechanics.
Tony Hooch cheered, said, he did a 200-bit cheer, by the way, and he said, well, you're right, but to the untrained eye, someone who saw that you made a lot of money on Monday might think, oh, you don't need money right now. Listen, that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. It's never how it worked, right? You want to know who doesn't need money? The people who have the $1 million contracts on Twitch.
Okay, first things first. When it comes to that whole $1 million contract thing, like I said, if I'm I'm pretty confident I'm the one who actually really starts talking about that. So why are you bringing that up now? First things first, because it's funny because Phil used to always boast about having, oh, I have my partnership contract on Twitch, and Twitch is the place to be, and Twitch is where it's at. No, asshole. The reason why people stay on Twitch is because of the amount of money that their guaranteed contract give them. Phil don't have a guaranteed contract. Phil's a whore. Phil's contract says that he basically says, okay, we're going to make you a partner, and we'll protect you from certain things, which they can't actually protect him from anymore. Actually, they never really could. They just gave him the illusion of protection. But so to speak, it depends on how you want to talk about protection, but we'll get to that at a later time and date, because that Super Hound thing is on a whole nother level. But basically, you have to sign an exclusivity with us saying that you can't stream anywhere else, or you can't stream gameplay content, if you will. And in turn, whatever money that you make on the site, you got to split it with us. That's it. That kind of makes him a hoe. That's why people were kind of, even now, people really are considering Facebook Gaming, because they don't, at least from what I've seen, they don't have an exclusivity contract. Let me give you an example. Z-Laner. If any of you guys have been watching Dr. Disrespect as of late, or not even as of late, just over the last like 4 or 5 months, I think, since he's met Z-Laner, that's like him and Doc are buddies. You know what I'm saying? And Z-Laner is a fucking incredible player. He's a Facebook gamer, but he also, I think he's been starting to dual stream on YouTube because he doesn't have anything that prevents him from doing so. And he was actually speaking to Doc a couple of streams ago about how does he get all of his monetization and everything. And Doc was like, yo, I'll talk to you off stream. But yeah, I can definitely, Doc was like, yeah, I'll definitely walk you through all that. With that type of availability, that opens up situations. That opens up very positive situations and better sponsorship situations for Z-Laner. But it also just increases his reach. That's the point of it all, in actuality. And then, what's that guy's name? He was just in some drama a few months ago, so I was surprised that Doc streamed with him, but whatever. King Richard. He got kicked off of Twitch. I'm actually wanting to know why he got kicked off of Twitch. But, because I think it was either Shroud or Ninja talked about that briefly just a couple weeks ago. But anyway, King Richard was also streamed with Doc recently or whatever. I guess they had a good outing. And whatever. He's over now. King Richard's over there on Facebook. And he streams on YouTube, I think, as well, occasionally or whatever. Because yet again, whatever his situation is on Facebook doesn't prevent him from doing so. Unlike Twitch, where some of these guys get stuck up in situations. Like, let me give you another example. Noah J456. I would assume he's a partnered channel on Twitch. If not, he's an affiliate. It's one of the two. if he is partnered, he's one of the few people I know that actually has, not that I know personally, but that I know of, I should say, who has a deal where he doesn't have, he's not stuck in a situation where he can't dual stream on YouTube and Twitch. Like, he's not stuck in that. I don't know if he has a guaranteed contract, but his contract is definitely lucrative because of the amount of people that he brings to his streams and the amount of money he gets in donations, which, if you haven't seen a Noah J stream, you know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not saying that the minimum is like $50 and up, because it's not, but there's a whole lot of $50, $100, $200, and $500 donations that come in on the regular. It's insane. It's insane how that happens. In any case, he's one of those people that who has the negotiation power and has the stature to where he can be like, okay, I'm okay with doing this deal with you guys, but I'm not gonna, but I want to have the freedom of being on YouTube, Twitch, whatever fucking platform I want to be on, as while also being with you guys. I don't remember exactly how his situation is set up, but I know I've definitely caught his streams on Twitch and YouTube respectfully at the same time. I know that for sure. And I followed him for a number of years as it pertains to his Call of Duty Zombies career. So just to keep that in mind. So the fact that Phil brings up the guaranteed contract thing seems odd, because why would he? What benefit would he have to do so unless he's heard that from a detractor, troll, hater, or critic? That seems just really kind of weird. And yet again, he boasts about his own contract, or about his own setup, if you will, with Twitch, but it's nothing. It's the bare minimum compared to what he could have. The problem is he doesn't have the public backing, and he doesn't have the stream numbers to justify giving him that. And in turn, that's why he doesn't have it. Yet again, he's literally, I've said this before, he's part of the red light district of Twitch. He really is. He's part of the panhandlers and Twitch thoughts, essentially. And even then, most of the Twitch thoughts are more successful than him. Not all of them, but most of them.
They don't. No, they don't need your money or your support. They're already rich. All they gotta do is turn their fucking stream on Twitch. They get insane viewers, and they're getting paid insane money by Twitch to even broadcast on the fucking site. So they don't need your money, all right? Everyone else needs your money. Seriously, everyone else needs your support, anything that you can lend. Just because an independent streamer has one good stream, or a series of good streams for that matter, doesn't mean that all of a sudden now they're good for life. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, then you're contradicting what you're saying then. Here, let me bring this back a little bit. You're actually contradicting what you're saying, because you're saying that just because you had a good day on Monday doesn't mean that you're going to be good for the rest of the week, that you still need to constantly make money. That's what business is. You're sitting here saying that these streamers don't give the successful streamers that are in guaranteed contracts your money because they're already rich, but you don't know what their financial situations are. You don't know if they have parents or grandparents that have hospital bills and hospice care, who are maybe even taking care of their families. I'm not going to call them streamers out in general, but there are a couple of big name streamers out there that are legit taking care of their parents. Their parents don't have jobs. They're putting their brothers and sisters through college. They're paying for putting them through college. They're doing a lot of things. They've got a lot of things going right now financially, which is why they're streaming. If they were millionaires and they didn't need the stream, why would they do it? There's a lot of shit I wouldn't say necessarily stress, but I guess it depends on what level you're at with that. But there's a lot of nonsense that comes to successful streamers that they don't want to, that I wouldn't want to deal with. I don't care how much money it is. If I have multi-millions of dollars, then why the fuck would I put myself through that shit day in, day out? That doesn't make a whole lot of fucking sense. To be honest, I'm already rich. So what the fuck? I can invest my money in other places and just be cool with it, or just do it because I'm bored. Shit, look at the crap that Pokimane pulled the other day. Not that she's setting any trends, but I know a lot of people who were fucking sucking on her toes and whatnot every time she needed protection, air quotes, are now mad at her because she did this, which I don't know why they're mad about it anyway. But Pokimane has this new thing now where the most that you can stream, that you can donate to her at a time, is $5. It's like a $5. It's like that's the maximum amount that you can donate to her at one time, or per tip, or whatever the case may be. And other people are getting mad about it. Now, what the fuck are you mad about that shit for? Because you're mad because she went ahead and is basically putting out an edict for herself. I don't remember her saying that other streamers had to do it, but put out an edict for herself. And you guys, some of you, I'm going to go ahead and call this dude out in particular, XQC, who was quick to come out there and defend her over dumb shit that ain't got shit to do with you, now you're mad because other people are going to hold you to the same standards that you hold, that she has now set. First and foremost, there was times that XQC went out there and defended her for shit that he shouldn't have been defending her on. She a big girl, let her handle herself out on that. 2, you got mad because you got backlash for some of those situations. Maybe you should have minded your own fucking business. And 3, whatever she does is whatever she does. At the end of the day, that doesn't mean that you have to do it, so what the fuck are you getting mad about? If someone says, hey, XQC, she's doing this, why aren't you doing it? But same, because you're not in the position she's in. Just be honest about it. You're not. And especially with them DMCA claims that are coming and you don't want to delete VODs, or you keep making new VODs that break the same type of violations that you're supposed to be trying to avoid. That's the reason why you deleted your other VODs. You might want to smarten up. That's just my opinion when it comes to that nonsense. End of story. But she can do that because she has the leisure of doing that. Not only she got her guaranteed contract with Twitch, but she's got sponsorships out the ass. I mean, granted, she ain't hurt some of those sponsorships with that Gundam shit, but whatever. It is what it is. She has good PR, so to speak, so it allowed her to bounce back. But that's what the situation is with that. Phil doesn't have any. It's more than just the guaranteed money from Twitch. That's not enough. You need sponsorships. You need to be building partnerships. This is a business, ladies and gentlemen. Not the nonsense that Phil tries to sit here and tell you. This is an actual business, which requires work, which requires diligence. See, here's the reality. Excuse me. People who actually treat this shit like a business, they have agents. They have managers. They have PR teams. They have a team of people around them. It's not a matter of them turning on the stream. They stream for a couple hours and that's it. They actually have meetings that they have to go to. There's shit that they have to do behind all this. That's what makes this a business. Not sitting up here unshaved, unwashed, and sitting there and begging for money day in, day out. That's not a business. Okay? That's not a business. That's what makes you a hoe. That's panhandling. That's bottom of the barrel. That's what that is. It's laziness for the sake of laziness. That's exactly how he's always carried himself. But he's mad that no one will take him seriously. And why is that, ladies and gentlemen? Because what is there to take seriously? Anybody? Anybody? It's okay, I'll wait. But here, we're going to play that situation back.
You want to know who doesn't need money? The people who have the $1 million contracts on Twitch. They don't need your money. They don't. They don't need your money or your support. They're already rich. All they gotta do is turn their fucking stream on Twitch. They get insane viewers, and they're getting paid insane money by Twitch to even broadcast on the fucking site. So they don't need your money, alright? Everyone else needs your money. Seriously, everyone else needs your support, anything that you can lend. Just because an independent streamer has one good stream, or a series of good streams for that matter, doesn't mean that all of a sudden now they're good for life. Like, what are you talking about? You know, these are people who have reciprocating costs. Not reciprocating, but repeating costs, right? To maintain their streams. These are people who, yes, maybe they have a really good night, that's great. It doesn't mean that everything's perfect forever, you know? I guess the real question is, why are you even asking? Again, why is it your business? If someone had a good night, that's great. Be happy for them. Why do you gotta ask them, oh, are you okay now for good? Like, what are you talking about?
But here's the thing. That reoccurring cost, which is the word that he should have used, or that business expense that those other $1 million streamers, that any streamer, I guess, would have, especially if they're trying to improve, those other streamers have that too. And they have far better setups than Phil. They actually have, most of them don't even edit anymore. They have editors on speed dial. They have people who do all their editing for them. Excuse me. It's an actual business. And they have new stuff coming in all the time. Yes, they may have sponsorships for new PCs, new mics, stuff like that. But at the same time as well, these people have backup PCs. They have backup laptops. They have, just in case shit happens. You know what I'm saying? What about Phil? What is Phil updated? Come now. I'm sure some of you guys were running around talking on these detractor forums or on detractor Twitter or on detractor videos talking about, oh, Phil's going to now make some changes. What are the changes that he made? He went ahead and pulled an old chair that he had from back in Connecticut that's over a decade old. Okay, what else did he do? Where's the green screen at? Where's the new laptop? Oh, that's right, the fan base has to pay for that. Where's the new green screen at, which I just talked about? Where's that at? Oh, the fan base has to pay for that too. Where's the new PC? Oh, the fan base needs to pay for that too. Oh, that mic that apparently keeps cutting out. There's nothing wrong with the mic per se, even though it is a kind of old mic, but not that it's the mic's fault. It's because he won't update the software. Oh, well, he can't update the software because the PC's too old, and he doesn't want to update any of the drivers because he's afraid that it's going to fuck with the programming on his current PC, which is too old. Which means what, ladies and gentlemen? He's going to want a brand new mic stand and a new mic eventually, with a new mixer and all of that stuff. So I guess we're going to have to wait for the fan base to pay for that too. What other changes has Phil made that at all to help improve his setup? Where's all the expenses going? Oh, to video games that he's going to rage quit anyway? Or you mean for video games that were already paid by someone else or contributed in some way, shape, or form by somebody else? How does that work? That's not a business expense that has really anything to do with him. If someone purchases the game digitally and sends him the code for it, or if someone sends him the money to buy that game, that's not a direct business expense to him because they didn't donate the money to him through tips. They went ahead and paid for that product directly. Or they put it in, or they sent him currency that would only allow him to pay for that game directly and nothing else. So what other business expenses are we talking about, ladies and gentlemen, that comes directly out of Phil Burnell's pocket? Anybody? Anybody at all? It sounds like a whole lot of begging and panhandling just to give him the facade of being a gamer so he can continue doing this. But yet again, he's saying that you guys have no rights to dig into his finances despite the fact that he asks you guys 6 days a week, 7 days a week really, because on Twitter, on his day off, he's usually bitching and complaining, to continue to support him and give him money so he can keep doing what he's doing. But yet again, who the fuck is he to get mad about why people question him about the money that he's using, or what he's using that money for, I should say, when all those people who have $1 million contracts have their own obligations too. They're all running businesses as well. They all have people to take care of. Phil Burnell only takes care of himself, basically. And even then, that's not true. Really, it's Swaggins, it's Golden Colt, it's Straight Cash Homie, it's Planet Jeff, it's Super Blind Man, and whoever else out there, and obviously Mama Burnell, and those are the people who take care of Phil. Phil don't even take care of himself. Cat takes care of him. Jasper in some way. Jasper's definitely pulled his weight. These are the people who take care of Phil Burnell. What has Phil Burnell taken care of? What has Phil Burnell done for himself? Don't worry. I'll wait.
What does that have to do with the content they're putting out, right? And why are you in their business? Again, people just like to fucking be up in streamers' business for some reason. What is it your business if they're good now for a week, a month, a year? What the fuck does that have to do with the content of the streams they're putting out? Why are you asking them personal questions? Right?
But aren't you being a hypocrite yet again? You're sitting here telling them, you just told them that they have no right, or no, not no right. Let's reword that. That the people who are already millionaires don't deserve your support. That it's other people who deserve their support. But if it's about the content that they put out, and if people enjoy it, then aren't you just as much of a hypocrite as the people that allegedly are critics of you? If these people are putting out content that people enjoy, and they choose to support them, then support them. Those people don't have to ask for donations. They don't have to ask. They don't have to ask for people to contribute to tip goals if those people even have tip goals. They don't have to ask for any of that. They turn on their streams. They play games. People enjoy it. People support them. They don't have to bring up the fact that you can support them in all these multiple ways, day in, day out. Phil Burnell does. And you think just because of his situation or his current situation that's the case, most of his financial obligations are squared away except for mid-first, which he's more than likely going to be sued for. So I would assume if he was smart, he would be sitting here in a mad dash to try to scrounge up as much money as he can to try to settle that shit up once mid-first sells that property. If not, Phil is definitely, at least legally, obligated for whatever the remainder is of, that they couldn't make off that deal. And that might be at least $60,000, if not more. So that's what Phil needs to be scrounging his money up for. But I think Phil thinks he's going to get lucky like he did with the bankruptcy, and he's going to be able to skirt on by. I don't think that's going to happen, I should say. I don't know. It just seems really hypocritical to say, hey, These people don't need your money. I need your money. But don't question me on why I need your money, because I have obligations and stuff too. What makes you different than them? You think a millionaire doesn't have to pay their monthly bills? You don't think they don't have expenses and shit they need to take care of? If think about this for a minute. Like, I'm dwelling on this I'm dwelling on this, and I need to just go ahead and move the fuck on with it. But like, just because you become a millionaire, does that mean that all the bills that you incur over the span of the month or the year, you just stop paying because you're a millionaire? Is that what he thinks? Because if you think about that, what I just said just a minute ago, as DSP logic as that shit is, you know what I'm saying? As much of a philism as that is, if you apply that to how he ran them credit cards up twice in his life, that's kind of what happened. You're probably saying twice. That's what he did in the FGC. He ran his credit card bills up for a couple of years trying to chase that Evo win and failed. And then he went to YouTube, did that shit, and it pulled him out of it. Then he ended up running up all that money on YouTube for YouTube, only to get bailed out by the bankruptcy. Just saying.
Tune into the fucking stream and leave him alone. Leave him alone with the personal shit. Holy shit. Dr. Tony Huge, cheers.
How is that personal shit when you say that if you guys don't support me, I can't buy groceries, I can't pay my bills for the month? It doesn't get any more personal than your finances. Am I right? Am I right about that? It doesn't. Sorry if that voice crack, but does it not get any more personal than your finances? And if you have someone who has publicly come out and said, "Hey, if you guys don't give me money, I can't buy food for myself and my family," I use the term family loosely, is that not personal? Is that not as personal as it gets? I don't know. Just a cute pup in a sharp suit.
I'm here almost every day. I know your situation. I know the difference between good night and a good week or month or year. I'm saying that's not everyone watches you as religiously as me, so they might not know. No, and that's the thing. Like, no one should think that way about any streamer. I'm not just talking about me. I'm talking about in general. No one should think that because you saw a streamer have a good day, that means that, oh, man, they're just doing so good and you don't have to worry about that anymore. It's like, that's not the case, and quite frankly, no one should ever be thinking about that. That's personal information about someone. How do you know how they're doing behind the scenes financially? Did you see their bank account? You know what I mean? Do you know what that person's actually personally going through? A challenge? What is this?
Did this son of a bitch just Oh. Alright, let's bring it back. Let's bring this back. He contradicted the fuck out of himself with this. So, yet again, you're going to sit there and say that no one has a right to sit there and judge what someone has made or what someone is making and think and... Let's reword that. You shouldn't pull your support from a content creator because of the amount of money they're making or the amount of money they have. You have no right to judge them on that. Despite the fact that only a few minutes before this, he said, do not give money to people who are already millionaires because they're already millionaires. But then he said exactly what I said, that you don't know what the fuck those people are dealing with behind the scenes. You don't know what the fuck they have going on. You don't know what obligations that they got going on and shit. And if it's a business constantly needs to be able to raise capital. Period. It constantly needs to be bringing in money, I should say, to keep going, to keep expanding, to keep thriving. He's stagnant. He's not even trying to maintain. He's merely trying to keep enough capital to come in just so he can exist. He can't branch out and do other shit. He can't even he can't even buy new hardware because if he doesn't get the money from his fan base to do it, he can't get it, allegedly. He can't improve his setup. He can't improve his environment. He can't do anything. Jesus Christ, this is the same person who came out years ago and said that he couldn't marry Panda because he didn't have the money to. He wasn't financially stable enough to get married. She was already living with him. Go down to the courthouse and get married, just like what you did with Kat. Remember? I can't marry Kat. April 1st of 2019. Oh, there's no way me and Kat can get married. Can't do it. You know, we don't have the money for it, but we hope to do it in the future. April 10th, they got married. That money that got spent on that marriage and on that trip and all that bullshit, that could have gone to helping with his bills, didn't it? But he didn't do that. He agreed to go ahead and for him and Kat to get married. But he couldn't marry Panda a couple years prior to that? No, he didn't marry Panda a couple years before that because he didn't want to marry Panda. He never had any intention of marrying that girl. Ever. And I will always hold to that. He never had any intention of marrying Panda. He had a particular purpose set out for her, and he was comfortable with that. Shit, I think honestly he wouldn't have married Kat if he didn't have to. Anyway, let's hear more of the... I'm going to bring it back real quick so we can hear the hypocrisy about that shit.
Man, they're just doing so good, and you don't have to worry about that anymore. It's like, that's not the case, and quite frankly, no one should ever be thinking about that. That's personal information about someone. How do you know how they're doing behind the scenes financially? Did you see their bank account? You know what I mean? Do you know what that person's actually personally going through? A challenge? What is this? NFL Gibson Shoes, I know there's debates about the value of a college education. Do you feel like your business degrees give you insight into managing your business? I was just talking to my dad about this on the phone today. That I'd say about half the classes I took in college were actually useful in some way. Like a basic finance class, accounting class, marketing, some math classes. I actually learned a lot about religion and the world's religions from a religion class that I took.
Wait,
but about half the classes were
basic financing, marketing, all stuff that was useless to him. All the classes he named are useless to him. That religious class or that worldwide religion class, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Phil has said what his religion was, what religion he was brought up with, but he showed no type of religious beliefs whatsoever. So that's a real personal thing that can go back into the piggy ether. No one gives a shit about that. But all the classes that he brought up that he said was useful to him weren't. Finance classes, he sat there and he had to get bailed out by his parents pretty much the whole time he's ever existed. He had to file for bankruptcy to get out of a financial issue. Marketing, it's his infamy that keeps him alive. His infamy keeps him alive. He can't market himself. He can't advertise himself. It's someone else who does it. If the detractor community went ahead and moved on or dried up or died out or whatever you want to call it tomorrow, Phil's fucked. He's fucked. And then what happens? Later on down the line, a whole new cultivation of detractors come about. Or haters. Or, and this is my actual theory, another lolcow fan base comes over and moves in. Which is, I think, honestly, what would happen. Either Wings or Low Tier God. That detractor fan base moves in, maybe. Just to name a few. That detractor fan base moves in and takes over. Or takes up where was left off, if you will. Like, none of those college classes that he names did jack shit for him. Him and Low Tier God talk about their business degrees, being a business major and all that nonsense. Look at what that did for either one of y'all. Under reasonable circumstances. Let's continue.
Complete waste of fucking time that we're padding classes just to make that college get rich. And that's just the truth of the matter. American universities force you to take these weird diversity classes that have nothing whatsoever to do with your major or anything you'll ever do in your life, so that they can make
because
extra
talking
money.
to people and understanding people and their culture and the way they live is just useless. Fair enough, Phil. Fair enough. You know what I'm saying? We've heard your stance on people that aren't of your color or don't look like you, so it's cool. Whatever. Here's another thing, though. Under reasonable circumstances. This is the same motherfucker, ladies and gentlemen, who bitched and complained that he couldn't get into an Ivy League school, right? Because he was white and he wasn't rich. Let that sink in. He couldn't get into an Ivy League school because he was white and he wasn't rich. Not to say that people haven't gone into Princeton, Yale, Harvard, who weren't rich, but had the grades to back it up. They didn't all have to be athletes, Phil. But what would you know about that, right?
That's all it is. They claim you need these diversity
because
credits or whatever.
because every person that's non-white, whoever went to a college, right, only got in. You know what I'm saying? Because of the color of their skin, right? And because they were probably doing something on the field, right? They were in some type of athletics that got them in. Like, none of them had any intelligence whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? Whatsoever to get them into an Ivy League school. You know what I'm saying? That's what it was. Fair enough, Phil. If that's what you believe. You know, so be it.
Graduate. You don't need shit. They're out of their fucking minds. They're a way for them to make more money. It's a scam. Why the fuck do I need to take a statistics class when I'm never going to use statistics at that level in my life? Why the fuck am I doing a class about these random ass nonsense things? You know, because they want your money.
Wait. Did you just say why would you ever need to take a statistics class? You do know there's a field called business statistics, right? And you do know that using business statistics goes ahead and judges how your business is doing now and then future projections on how your business could do. And it also helps you evaluate what was your strengths and weaknesses, and then keeping up with the current trend and what the future of those current trends are going to be projected as. It gives you an idea of what you need to do and how you need to evaluate your current structure and business to meet your goals, right? You do realize that's what statistics is, essentially. That's not just business statistics, that's just in general. You do understand, he's someone who has a business degree, right? He did go into ACE certification, right? Which is what? Achievement, excellence, yada, yada, yada. And I'm sure that on the basis of that, there was some type of statistic work in that. He does realize this. Right? This is what he does, right? Supposedly he runs a business, but he thinks statistics is useless? Okay. I almost let that slip. I almost let that slip because I'm stunned by that. I'm absolutely stunned. But oh well. He's the successful businessman, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go ahead and learn it from him. We're learning from the best.
Seriously. They want you to take you need a diverse classwork in order to graduate. Why? Here's what I want to do for a job. I'm here to learn how to do my job, not to fucking pad your fucking pockets with money.
Okay, if that's the case, then go to a trade school, man. And get hands-on experience in the field, then. Or in that particular field. Why don't you just do that? That was an option for you. You're the one who wanted to go to an Ivy League school. Don't get me wrong, going to college would probably make you much more well-rounded, but that's not what Phil's asking for. He doesn't want to be well-rounded. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't want to be able to go into a field and be able to compete and do well in all aspects of that field. Not just the job itself, but the actual sociology that goes into that, right? The mental framework that goes into it. The more you know, the better. He doesn't want that. He just wants to go. He wants to go in, do his job, and then move the fuck on and get paid lots and lots of money. Then why didn't he just go to a trade school then? I'm just asking. Was that not an option? Do they not have those in Bridgeport? Are they too busy shooting each other up to where the school system just doesn't exist to that level? To that degree? I don't understand. All right.
System works. Because you would think, oh, you're the customer. No. You're like at the whim of the fucking school telling you what you need to do to graduate. Like, who the fuck are you? I'm here to pay you to give me an education so I can get a job. I'm not here to make you rich. So what the fuck is this? So I hate the American education system. The worst part about American university is not only do you have to waste all this time doing classes and shit you don't want, then they charge you so much money out the ass for it that you end up being in debt for a ridiculously long time after you graduate. It's like, wow, what a great way to start.
Now keep in mind, there's a lot of hypocrisy in that statement because one, he's a product of the U.S. school system. So look at where he's at, first and foremost. Secondly, holy shit, that's actually a scary thought. Secondly, he said, according to Piggy Legend, or Piggy Lore, he went on a partial scholarship. And then, because that's all he could, because he wasn't smart enough to get a full scholarship. Sorry, I'm just calling it for what it was. And because he was real bitter about the girl who did get it. So, whatever. So he went to school on a partial scholarship. He's admitted that because I think he was at like a tournament and he talked about how him and his roommate were on scholarships. But he's talked about it in other times too. He went on he went to school on a partial scholarship, and his parents paid the rest. Now, he says that he was the one who had to work and then go to school full time, but he admitted that he only worked like 20, 25 hours a week. You're paying tuition off $20 and $25 a week? Really? Really? No. I think that was Mommy and Daddy Burnell who handled that. I think what happened was they pushed him to get good grades so he could get a scholarship. He didn't get a full ride, but he got a partial ride. I think his parents picked up the rest of the slack. I think they even gave him spending money. But I think if he actually had a job, I think they did that so if he wanted to do any outside recreationals, then he could. And I don't think he lived on campus long. And then eventually he ended up going back home and going to school there while he lived at home. Just to get the lore fully, just so we can go full circle with it.
Right? To be in monstrous debt because these fuckers ripped you off by making you take classes you didn't need. Instar Rune Cherry says, currently they're teaching me to program in assembly, which I guess is neat, but I'm not going to program in one step above binary. My final semester I need to take race, gender, and class in the digital world. Wow. Don't worry, you'll be taking so many filler classes by the time you're done. There you go. That's what I mean, like, you're doing so many filler classes that they feel, oh, you need that for your graduation. Fuck off. How about you just teach me how to do a fucking job so I can pay back the stupid loan that I had to take out to go to your fucking school to begin with, you fucking greedy money-grubbing fucks. Anyway.
Now here's the thing.
Defeat the eye of the
like I said, no one's saying, for any of you guys who've gone to college, you already know what I mean. And no one's saying that you're not going to get classes that aren't going to be, that are not going to be questionable. Okay? Let's be honest. But some of that stuff is going to be useful to you. In some way, shape, or form, outside of your job field. Some of it will. Not all of it, but some of it will. And that's kind of the point, and so to speak. Yet again, if not, you can go to a trade school. More often than not, honestly, we probably need more people to go to trade school. You'll get more out of it. I think. That's just my opinion, of course. I think you'll get more out of it than going to college. I think going to college, like I said, it can give you the opportunity to be well-rounded, but there's plenty of people who've gone to trade school and have done extremely well. And then they can just do outside research on their own. It's the same thing that Phil Burnell says he does. He says he looks up stuff randomly and tries to completely engulf himself into it. Does he really do that? No, I don't believe him. I think he just reads what other people have told him or what he saw on Twitter, because that's about the extent of his research. But it could be said for whatever. It depends on you. And at the end of the day, college ain't free. And yet again, he's sitting here complaining about making the colleges rich, and he didn't have to pay a dime. His parents took care of that. So what is he complaining about? I mean, outside of his scholarship, of course.
ML Gibson chooses, I feel specialization is important, yet they force you to take classes that have no impact on what you want to do. It's counterproductive. Yes, because that's how they make money. They literally do it just to charge you more money. That's it. There's no other reason to do it besides they want extra money. And then they claim it's a requirement. Yeah, whose requirement in it? Not mine. I know I don't need to know that shit. You're the one who's saying that it's a requirement. Fred Flintstone Cheer said, I'm on my last few semesters of university. I only had classes important for my major now in the next semester. It's ridiculous. I don't even remember what I learned the first 3 years. It's true. You end up getting this ridiculous non-education for such a long time. You have to get all these garbage classes before you even get to do anything that has to do with your job you're going to get. It's like, what the fuck, dude? That's the whole point I went to school, was to educate myself for a job. Yeah, more than half the time I was at school,
if you can even get the job when you graduate.
Anything I need to have for a job. And it's because
matter of fact, if I remember correctly, I think Phil went to school initially for like computer engineering. And I think when he went into his, or computer science, one of the two. I think it was engineering though, computer engineering. Anyway, when he went into his first class, the teacher started basically going through what was going to be taught for that semester, what was on the itinerary, and this, that, and the third. And it feels like, wait a second, I haven't learned any of this. And everybody was like, how could you? Then why are you here? Like, this shit is basic. Like, we learned all this shit in like high school and stuff. And I was like, oh, well, I didn't. Oh well, I guess you're gonna be doing a lot of extra studying on your off time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't even qualified for the classes that he was necessarily going into. Like, that's how far behind that our boy here was when it came to his education going in. So I don't even know, like, why did you even choose to go into that particular field if you had no prior experience in it? Not to say that you need prior experience to do so. Most people just go in and adapt, which is what you're going to have to do anyway. And even then, the way he describes the situation, I don't think he was that far behind. I think he was just mad that he was behind other people in his class. I think that's what bothered him. I think he was sitting in that class with people who were already getting it because they already had experience with it. He didn't, and that right there was discouraging. It was frustrating him. So he just quit. And he went, well, yeah, he quit and changed his major or whatever the case may be, and decided to go into business. Just something to think about.
Money. They want to rip you off and make you take a bunch of fucking classes you don't need. They're assholes. Greedy fucks. Well, Big Fat Jiggly just hit me $5. So what's the most useless class I remember taking? It was funny when you told the anime girl to shut the fuck up. The most useless class I ever had was a Native American history class, and not because I didn't care about Native American history, but number one, if I really cared about it, I could have researched it myself and didn't need a class for it. So you didn't
care about Native American history. Think about what he just said there. The most useless class I had was Native American history. It's not that I didn't care about Native American history, but that was the most useless class I had, that I've had. And if I wanted to learn about Native American history, I could have. So you didn't care. Let's bring that back. I wish he would think before he talks. Oh shit. He just makes himself seem stupid when he does shit like this. Oh boy.
Greedy fucks. Well, Big Fat Jiggly just hit me $5. So what's the most useless class I remember taking? It was funny when you told the anime girl to shut the fuck up. The most useless class I ever had was a Native American history class, and not because I didn't care about Native American history, but number one, if I really cared about it, I could have researched it myself and didn't need a class for it. And number two, the teacher who claimed he was part Native American didn't look Native American and didn't teach anything. He would come in and ramble. I'm not even kidding. He would come into class and ramble about absolutely
nothing. That's funny, Phil, because you don't look Italian. And you really don't look Italian. But, I mean, whatever. It is what it is.
American history. And then all of a sudden he'd, like, do a test on shit that he never taught anything. Anything you needed to know, you needed to read the books yourself. He would be like,
wait.
You need to read
You just said, you just said that the dude didn't teach you anything. The dude didn't look Native American. If you wanted to learn about Native American history, you would have looked it up yourself. You were given a book, or you were told to buy a book that was related to your class, and you didn't read it? That's the true waste of money. It's different if you are given if you take a college course and they have a bunch of books on the recommendations that you should go ahead and pick up for this class, and you don't need one or two of them. That sucks. That sucks. But the book that was given to you that was related to your class, or you were asked to buy, or whatever the case may be, you didn't read it, though what you needed to learn was in the book. Let's take a minute to marinate on that, because there's more to that. There has to be. There has to be more to that.
His book, and then he would just do a test that was about the book, and it had nothing to do with anything in class. This one, I remember he said, you need to write a research paper on going to a Native American museum that was like in some part of Connecticut on a Native American reservation. So it was basically because of this class, I was forced to travel across the state, pay money to go onto this reservation and go to this museum and do a bunch of shit at the museum just to write a report. It's like, I had to pay a lot of money for that. And it was part of the class. Like, what? And then at the end of the class, I seriously...
Wait, whoa, there's so many problems with that statement. All right, we're gonna bring that back too. There's so many things wrong with that statement. One, you had to go to a museum you had to go to a museum to do research for a paper, right? That's on a Indian reservation. I don't know about you, but I assume it's not very much to go on. I haven't been on an Indian reservation in a long time, but I know it's not much to go on there. Not much at all. A couple bucks, I would think. It's not expensive. Two, at this point, this dude had a car. If not, his mother or his parents drove him out there and drove him back. So that didn't cost him jack shit either. I bet you anything, his parents actually gave him the money so he could go on, so he could go into the museum. We'll go onto the reservation to go onto the museum because it's part of school. And then I'm sure there's some type of discount that can be extended to you as well because you're a fucking student. You can get discounts on anything and everything these days for being a student. So you're telling me that back in Phil's day, that wasn't a thing? I call bullshit on that.
Paper on going to a Native American museum that was like in some part of Connecticut on a Native American reservation. So it was basically because of this class, I was forced to travel across the state, pay money to go onto this reservation and go to this museum and do a bunch of shit at the museum just to write a report. It's like I had to pay a lot of money for that. And it was part of the class. Like, what?
Now, here's the thing.
At the end of the class,
the fact that he's bitching and complaining about being cultured in something that's different from his own is kind of disgusting to me in one point. Secondly, this is the same idiot that thinks a $7 sandwich is expensive. Keep that in mind. He didn't mind shoveling that sandwich into his snout, but he had the nerve to say that shit was expensive because it was $7. So keep that in mind. More importantly, this shit is to help further his education. He needs this to graduate. And you bitching about this. You're bitching about something this small and minute that is helping you further your education. Whether you think the class is useless or not is incidental. You need the credits from this class. Oh, man.
He'll tell you I learned nothing about Native Americans because the guy never taught anything. Anything that I learned, I read in a book, and I could have done it myself. The guy was a fucking asshole, and at the end of the class, it was hilarious because I basically stopped going to his class. All right, I totally stopped going to his class.
You quit the guy's class, or you skipped the guy's class, I would assume. Oh, that sounds like classic Darksydephil to me. That sounds like classic Darkside quitter to me. Let's listen to some more though. Actually, let's sorry. I want to bring back the quitting part because that's always great to me. I love hearing him say that he quit and says it with pride. That's the thing that really fucks with me. He said when he quits, more often than not, he says it with a source of pride. He expresses pride that he did this, like he's making some type of political or social statement by doing so. So let's hear it. Let's hear what he's so proud of. Or skipping the class. I assume he skipped it more than he quit it, but you know what I mean.
Onto this reservation and go to this museum and do a bunch of shit at the museum just to write a report. It's like I had to pay a lot of money for that, and it was part of the class. Like, what? And then at the end of the class, I seriously will tell you I learned nothing about Native Americans because the guy never taught anything. Anything that I learned, I read in a book, and I could have done it myself. The guy was a fucking asshole, and at the end of the class, it was hilarious because I basically stopped going to his class. All right, I totally stopped going to his class, and basically did the absolute bare minimum to pass the class. And he actually wrote me on the end of the class when it was ending. He wrote me a note, and the note basically said, you're really pushing the boundaries of what a kid can do and pass this class. I actually would have liked to flunk you, but technically you showed up enough and you passed the tests or whatever, so I had to pass you. And I responded to him, and I said, you're the worst teacher I've ever had. You taught me nothing. I could have learned everything myself, and I really feel like you ripped me off. So you better not ever try to speak to a student like that again for fear that you keep your job, because you didn't teach a damn thing in this class, and I could have probably got you in trouble if I reported you because everyone agreed that you were the worst teacher ever, and you're just getting by and getting a paycheck and not doing any effort. And by the way, he never responded. No fucking surprise that he never responded.
Why the fuck would he need to respond? First off, how many other kids skipped out on that class and barely passed? That's my first question, since apparently there's this this beehive group style mentality going on. How many other people skipped that class? Oh, well, he couldn't tell you because he wasn't in class, allegedly. So that's the first thing. Secondly, the fact that the professor wrote you a note saying that I would have flunked you, you know what I'm saying, because you blatantly were skipping his classes, but you did just enough to pass. I mean, so what? I think he was well within his rights to say that. He didn't sit there and call you a fucking loser fuckboy, and he would have gone ahead and flunked your ass if he thought that if he thought he could get away with it, and you're going to end up being nothing because If he had said that, he'd have been right. He didn't do that. He pointed out the obvious. He saw that you were blatantly skipping his classes. You only showed up for the tests or your exams, and that was it. Like, you did just enough to get by, which sounds like Darksydephil. So that sounds like I actually believe that to an extent. The fact that Phil threw out all those idle threats and everything, trying to goat this guy into some bullshit, is the reason why he didn't respond. Because the guy's not stupid. He understood exactly what Phil was trying to do, and the guy didn't bite, and Phil got mad about it. Because that's the same shit. It's similar to the type of shit Phil used to do in the FGC, where he used to try to bait people out into fucking situations so he could get more public support and public clout and get that person buried. He tried to do that to Triforce, and it didn't work because Triforce saw through it. Gee, yo, wow, he's been well, like I said, he's been a scumbag. Phil Burnell has been a scumbag, and don't ever let anybody tell you differently.
Like this too, they get these like teachers who are tenured, and the teachers don't even fucking teach anything. The whole system's a scam.
But the real irony is,
me a nasty.
Oh, I didn't need to take that class because I could have just taken everything out of a book if I really wanted to learn about it. Then he's put into a situation to learn everything out of the book and says he didn't learn anything. Amazing. Amazing.
I said, you're the you taught me nothing. I could have learned everything myself, and I really feel like you ripped me off. So you better not ever try to speak to a student like that again for fear that you keep your job, because you didn't teach a damn thing in this class, and I could have probably got you in trouble if I reported you, because everyone agreed that you were the worst teacher ever, and you're just getting by and getting a paycheck and not doing any effort. And by the way, he never responded. No fucking surprise that he never responded. Yeah, that's what I mean. A lot of universities are like this too. They get these like teachers who are tenured, and the teachers don't even fucking teach anything. The whole system's a scam. But he writes me a nasty letter, so I wrote him back a nasty letter. It was really fun.
You did. No, you. And that's another thing too. This old man, and that's what he is. This old man sitting here and complaining about, oh, they did something nasty to me, and I did something, and so that's the reason why I did something nasty back to him. First off, you're the one who started skipping the dude's class. So, as usual in the DSP-isms, he initiates a reaction, someone responds to that action, and then he justifies responding back to it by, oh, they said something nasty to me first. Despite the fact that Phil did the action to cause the response from that person in the first place. But he don't see that, though. A fucking tard. That's why. Jesus Christ.
No, I cannot ride a bike in real life. I told you guys I never learned, because as I was growing up and learning how to ride a bike, because I'd gone several times with my dad to learn, he was taking me out, and I was getting better at it. My neighbor got the shit beat out of them and had their bike stolen by a neighborhood gang. And the kid was bloody and everything. And after that, I was like, dude, there's no reason for me to ever go out on a bike. I'm not going to go out there and get my ass beat by a bunch of fucking gang members coming here to steal shit from local kids. So I never learned to do it. It's true. And I've also told this story that was funny because I just won a bike. I was learning to ride a bike, and my parents had bought me
Wait. Okay. I've heard this clip, but I haven't seen it in its entirety. So, you know me, I'm going to have to bring it back now because I have my replay function, and I like to do that. Because I'm a professional. I'm not a professional. I just play one on YouTube. Poorly. Your father was teaching you how to ride a bike, which is a rite of passage for father to son. He taught you a couple times. You were doing really well at it. Then you hear, he didn't apparently see it, you heard that your neighbor allegedly got his ass beat by a bunch of gang members over his bike, and so you gave up on it because you didn't want to get beaten up yourself. But isn't this the same Darksydephil who ain't sat there and pushed people into walls and used to get into fights and had his little fucking misfit posse and no one wanted to fuck with him? But yet, you're gonna... But yeah, you're not going to want to learn how to ride a bike because you're in fear of getting beat up? No, we need to hear the whole clip. And then after that, I'll give you my points on it, and then we'll bring it back. Woo! This shit is good.
That I was using to learn how to ride a bike. Excuse me. And then we went to this basketball game. It was a charity basketball game. It was like the firefighters or the police department or something, and they were trying to raise money for charity. So we went to this game because my dad had friends who were firefighters. And when we go to the game, there was a raffle. And we entered the raffle, and I randomly won a kick-ass bike. It was like neon orange. And it was supposed to be like one of those high-end bikes for kids. It's supposed to be like a mountain bike, off-roading and shit. In addition to just being, you know, a nice bike. Oops. No, I don't want to do that. It's a complete mistake. And then, no lie, I'm not even exaggerating, within 2 weeks of me winning that bike, we hadn't even built it yet, because you have to build your own bike, whatever. Within 2 weeks of me winning the bike, my neighbor got beat up, and he got his bike stolen. Now, can you imagine if I built my bike quickly, and I had gone out on that bike, I would have got my ass beat and had it stolen.
Wait. There's a bit of a problem there. You said initially that your father was already teaching you how to ride a bike, and you're already a couple of lessons in. Before... You were already a couple of lessons in before you heard that your neighbor got his ass beat by a gang and got his bike taken. So you were already riding a bike before your neighbor got beat up and got his bike taken. Then you win a new bike that you haven't even put together yet. Then you hear that 2 weeks later that your neighbor gets beaten up, and then you just quit altogether. So let's reword that. He was already learning how to ride a bike. He wins a new bike. 2 weeks later, he hears his neighbor gets beat up, and then he quits. Then he just quits all of it altogether. If that's the case, Phil, why'd you even bother learning how to drive? I mean, granted, historically speaking, it didn't really help him much because he had John and Howard and OJ, apparently, as well as other people chauffeur him around. In the FGC, there are old threads that you can find. And Phil has actually said it in old videos too, that he had to go on SRK and try to and ask people to give him lifts from one place to another for tournaments or whatever, because he couldn't drive because of his bad back, right? Which is the reason why he started bringing John and Howard with him in the first place, so he could have them do all the driving. Why'd you even bother learning how to drive, Phil? If they beat you up over a bike, then I can only imagine what they do to you over a car. Did you not like the exercise that came with riding a bike? Even though as a kid you don't think of it as exercise, it gets you from one place to another with other kids, so you look at it as a fun experience. There's so much to unwrap with this. there's so much to unwrap with this. The story though don't sound right though. His story already sounds off, because he's already learning how to ride a bike. He wins a new bike. Here's the neighbor gets beat up and then quits all of it. And we've already heard him talk about being a quitter twice in this video. All right.
I was actually, happy that I had kind of delayed in doing it. And then I told my dad, I'm not riding that bike. Fuck it, I'm not doing it. So he ended up just giving it away to somebody. I did not break my dad's heart. My dad understood. I said, Dad, I'm sorry, I'm not chancing it. What's the point of going to learn to ride a bike if I'm going to get my ass beat and get stolen anyway? Right?
Why didn't you ask your father to teach? First off, I think you did break your father's heart. Why didn't you ask your dad to teach you how to fight then? Or at least teach you how to defend yourself? Or put you in like a karate class or something? Or boxing or whatever? And your dad understood that however old you were, I think you were like 6, or whatever the case may be, a 6-year-old is worrying about getting his ass beat over a bike. I X the doubt. X the doubt. It's funny too, because I rag on Mr. Brunel a lot, and in actuality, it sounds like very much so that he did try, because you can obviously tell that later on with trying to get Phil a job and doing all this dumb shit. And you just turned out to be the constant failure that I always said you were. Well, thank you, Phil, for that. I have to say honestly, thank you, Phil, for that. For only proving that you were a failure in your father's eyes as much as you're a failure in everybody else's. That's insane. That's insane. Because, Phil, if you learn how to actually ride your bike and ride it well, then more than likely you can ride it fast. Which means that you more than likely can go ahead and outrun those guys. Or whatever the case may be. or maybe just not go down that block, or whatever the situation was. I very likely doubt that that kid got beat out in front of his front yard and no one came out to help him. That seems like a bit of a stretch. But then that's if the story's even true. Oh man. Anyway, let's continue.
Unneeded risk. Waifu Simp Granddaddy now took me another $1 and says, now that you're away from the gangs of Connecticut, do you want to learn to ride a bike? No. I'm too old to care. I have no reason to ride a bike. And because of my back issues, I probably wouldn't be able to ride a bike and out anyway. It would probably agitate my back and make me re-injure it. So, absolutely not.
Wait, I thought you didn't have back problems anymore. I thought that wasn't an issue. Now you're saying that you wouldn't want to because you're afraid it's going to re-agitate your back injury? Hold up. We're going to bring that whole We're going to bring that whole scenario back. That whole, just with the bike shit though. That's the only thing I really care about now. We're going to bring that last bit back. You wouldn't want to ride a bike now because you're too old, which we talked about that earlier, so I won't really reminisce on that. And because you're afraid it's going to hurt your back that the Seattle weather supposedly took care of. Holy shit, hold on a second.
Ow. I was getting better. My neighbor...
Okay, we're almost at the beginning of that story. Ladies and gentlemen, if this isn't pig tard shit, I don't know what is. Honestly, I don't know what is. That's completely off the fucking rails about that shit. That is by far the most depressing shit I think I've ever heard. I think that's one of the most depressing things I've ever heard. But here, let's hear it in its entirety, and then let's close this out. I've held you guys up long enough. Oh my god. Let's get it.
He writes me a nasty letter, so I wrote him back a nasty letter. It was really fun. No, I cannot ride a bike in real life. I told you guys I never learned because as I was growing up and learning how to ride a bike...
speaking of which, let me reiterate this to you guys as well. Just in case you guys don't know. For some of you who might not. He can't swim either. Darksydephil can't swim either. So I want you guys to try to take a visual, ladies and gentlemen, whether you guys have children of your own, or you're like myself and you're inspiring to have kids, or whatever the case may be, or just look back at your own childhood for a second. He cannot ride a bike because he was afraid of getting beat up, and the guy can't swim. Now, if because of circumstances he can't swim, that's one thing. I think Phil just didn't want to learn how to swim because he just didn't want to learn how to swim. Same thing with riding a bike. I think his father basically was like, hey, let me teach you. And then Phil looked for an excuse to give up on it. Because he said he was doing well, and then all of a sudden, and then wins a brand new bike. And then here's someone gets beat up and then gives it all up. I think this right here, ladies and gentlemen, should be, yet again, as I've tried to say, a pattern of his behavior. A pattern of his behavior. Just think about it for a minute. You don't have to agree with it, but I just want you to think about it for a minute. Let's get it.
Dad learn. He was taking me out, and I was getting better at it. My neighbor got the shit beat out of them and had their bike stolen by a neighborhood gang. And the kid was bloody and everything. And after that, I was like, dude, there's no reason for me to ever go out on a bike. I'm not going to go out there and get my ass beat by a bunch of fucking gang members coming here to steal shit from local kids. So I never learned to do it. It's true. And I've also told this story that was funny because I just won a bike. I was learning to ride a bike, and my parents had bought me a basic bicycle that I was using to learn how to ride a bike. Excuse me. And then we went to this basketball game. It was a charity basketball game. It was like the firefighters or the police department or something, and they were trying to raise money for charity. So we went to this game because my dad had friends who were firefighters. And when we go to the game, there was a raffle. And we entered the raffle, and I randomly won a kick-ass bike. It was like neon orange. And it was supposed to be like one of those high-end bikes for kids. It's supposed to be like a mountain bike, off-roading and shit, in addition to just being, you know, a nice bike. Oops. No, I don't want to do that. It was a complete mistake. And then, no lie, I'm not even exaggerating, within 2 weeks of me winning that bike, we hadn't even built it yet, because you have to build your own bike, whatever. Within 2 weeks of me winning the bike, my neighbor got beat up, and he got his bike stolen. Now, can you imagine if I built my bike quickly, and I had gone out on that bike, I would have got my ass beat and had it stolen. So, I was actually, you know, happy that I had kind of delayed in doing it. And then I told my dad, I'm not riding that bike, fuck it, I'm not doing it. So he ended up just giving it away to somebody. I did not break my dad's heart. My dad understood. I said, Dad, I'm sorry, I'm not chancing it. What's the point of going to learn to ride a bike if I'm going to get my ass beat and get it stolen anyway? Right? You're putting yourself at unneeded risk. Waifu Simp Granddaddy now took me another $1 and says, now that you're away from the gangs of Connecticut, do you want to learn to ride a bike? No. I'm too old to care. I have no reason to ride a bike. And because of my back issues, I probably wouldn't be able to ride a bike and out anyway. It would probably agitate my back and make me re-injure it. So, absolutely not.
Oh man, that was depressing. At the end of that, I gotta admit that was a fucking mess. Holy shit. But a couple takeaways though. Just a few small takeaways, and let's close our shop. Oh shit! Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and close our shop right here. Let's go ahead and take any last orders you guys have, and then we will reconvene for final thoughts, and then I will let you guys go. Oh shit! Oh shit! All right. Oh man, that's hurtful. Oh man. Oh shit. Holy shit. Okay, alright, a couple things to unpack. Yet again, first off, big ups to the individual who recommended the first song of this broadcast. Thank you so very much. Like I said, your name should pop up at the beginning of this broadcast and whatnot, and I very much appreciate that. Secondly, big ups to MrHuth stuff. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I don't think I've ever spoken to MrHuth stuff, but I very much appreciate this. And what he does. Okay, the thing about the waifus is it's whatever. Just it's whatever. He's being a bit hypocritical about it, but yet again, his only shield is that I'm married, and that was a long time ago. When in actuality, that wasn't that long ago, and it's only because he's married, because he can say that he's married, that is the reason why he's not doing those things. Even though theoretically, he does throw out his little comments about females in games and all that. He hasn't really. It's not about maturing. His situation has just changed. You know what I'm saying? He's moved from the fictional women to a real woman, despite the fact that he's not even utilizing that the way he should. But you know, that's on a whole nother thing for a whole nother thing. So that's my thoughts on that. About tips, absolute fucking hypocrite about that bullshit. Absolute fucking hypocrite about that shit. But you guys already know, you guys already heard my thing on that. College classes, that's tomato, that's whatever what you think about it. But even the classes that he said that he did well in and that he liked, he obviously didn't learn anything, because that's stuff that he could be utilizing right now. Even he could be utilizing right now, and he doesn't. The situation with that bike, this is the part that I want you guys to take away. His parents bought him a bike. I want you to think about the wording he used. His parents bought him a basic bike. He was using, and that's how he was learning, and he was using that to learn how to ride it. Then he gets a brand new bike, a more high-end bike. Think about his wording. a more high-end bike, right? And but because he found out that his neighbor got beat up, he doesn't want to ride it at all. He just gave up. I think he never wanted to learn how to ride a bike. I think he thought it was too much effort. I think he wasn't catching on to it as quickly as he thought he would, and it was frustrating him. I think that he was looking for an excuse, and I think his neighbor getting beat up was the excuse. The fucked up part about it is the bike that they won is one thing. It is what it is, semantics. The fact that his father bought him a bike, his father bought him one, and he still went ahead and threw that shit into the ether like, oh, sorry, Dad, I know you bought me this bike. It's basic. It's not a really nice bike. It's not a really high-end bike, but you bought me this really nice bike, and tried to teach me how to ride it. And my neighbor got beat up, so I don't want to use it. Well, you got the new one that you just won. Yeah, well, you know, that's an even higher-end bike, and I don't even want that either because I might get hurt. So if you think about it, if his parents had bought him a high-end bike from the start, and he was afraid that he finds out his neighbor got beat up, he'd be like, well, damn, Dad, you could have put me at risk. You could have put me in danger by buying me such an expensive bike. It's just look at the DSP-ism in it. That's a ridiculous reason not to want to learn how to ride a bike. Did you think you were going to live in the alleged hood forever? And then listen to his reasoning on why he doesn't want to learn one now. Oh, I'm too old to care. I don't need it. Oh, and it's going to also hurt my back. It could hurt my back. And this right here, now the point of all of that is the fact that think about when people buy Phil stuff and how he mistreats it, how he takes advantage of a situation, how he's ungrateful about it. Stream Deck is a perfect example. Oh, I could upgrade my laptop and my PC to Windows 10 so I could use this, but that's too much effort, so I'm not going to bother with it. So I'm just going to throw it into the container, into one of my storage bins. And then you guys buy me a brand new PC and a brand new laptop, and then I'll use it. Let me give you another example. Oh, you guys bought this game for me, and yeah, it's kind of fun, but the trolls and everything are making fun of me because I'm bad at it, and so now I don't want to play it. Or let's look at, and I want you guys to definitely think about this as my closing point. Think about the Platinum Vest. Remember, the Platinum Vest wasn't bought by Phil. It wasn't bought by DSP, Darksydephil, Darksydephil, whatever. It wasn't bought by him. It was bought by a fan. And that shit is the most popular vest. Phil has bought I think he's bought 3 of them. Because I think 2 of them were bought by fans. I think it was the Platinum Vest and maybe, I don't think it's the gray one. And I don't think it was the Marty McFly one or whatever that was. One of those, or maybe it was the navy blue one. One of those vests were bought by, 2 of those vests were bought by fans. I think. I'm pretty confident 2 of them were. Or no. Maybe just one of them was bought. Because remember, the original one he's always had. And then maybe he did buy 3 of them. And the Platinum Vest was the only one that was bought for him. Because I think another fan wanted to buy him another one. Oh, no. No? Because he has a camo vest too, don't he? I might be right. 2 of those vests might have been bought by fans. The point being is the most popular vest that Phil owns wasn't bought by him. It was bought by somebody else. And I think that irks him. I think that pisses him off that he spent his little $30 or $25 or $15 or whatever to buy each and every one of those other vests, and he's not getting the money's worth out of it. But this vest that was given to him for free, that is making all the money for him, he's pissed off that people like that vest and not the ones that he bought. I think it irks him. And I think that's another component on why he killed the vest streak. Because he was trying to, in some odd sort of way, he was trying to kill that Platinum Vest. He was really pissed off on how popular that vest was and how he wasn't getting, the vests that he purchased weren't getting that type of credit. And that's why halfway through that vest streak, he was talking about, oh, we're going to rotate vests now. Now I'm going to veto certain stuff. We're only going to use a vest for, we're going to try to go through all of them now because I'm tired of all of them collecting dust. Who gives a shit? If the Platinum Vest is bringing all the money, the Platinum Vest is bringing all the money. It made way more money than any amount of money that you spend on those other vests. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? I mean, people know that they have the option of those other those other vests. But this right here, this platinum vest, the aluminum foil wrapping up the potato head is what's bringing in all the money. And he still killed it because his fucking ego was too big. His ego was too big. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. I'll catch you guys for the next one. Don't worry, there'll be more because I got a lot to catch up. So whenever that may be, hopefully sooner than later. Ladies and gentlemen, this is DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. A GTG Network and Productions for the Snort Report, or Pseudo Snort Report, and Tim Snortons. I've been your host, /anchor GTG, and I'm signing off. Take care of yourselves, guys. I'll see you guys for the next one. End of broadcast.